importantly, it is you, the people of YouTube. And if you're looking for the very best wrestling content, you better come to Good Mic Work Commentaries. Yeah, you better watch this channel. You better watch all the videos. You better watch every single one right here at Good Mic Work Commentaries. Do it. Do it now.
What's going on, guys? Happy Saturday. I just realized I put the wrong intro in there. I was supposed to do the Winged Eagle intro, but whatevs. We are here as usual on Saturday. Welcome to your August 8th, 2020 edition of the Winged Eagle podcast, coming at you 30 minutes earlier than normal. Tried to get the word out a little bit on social media that I'd come up a bit earlier today because I wanted to make sure we had a solid 2 hours to discuss stuff because this was a busy week. Not only did we have a pretty decent week of wrestling, especially on Wednesday. Wednesday was absolutely phenomenal. We've got some interesting wrestling news to get into as well. Random news and notes, including things like the AEW heels paywall receiving all of the backlash. We've got some very interesting Marty Jannetty news that I'm sure you guys heard about earlier this week that I will be very anxious to discuss. We've got a pretty big internal shakeup in Warner Media, the company that owns TNT, that could have an effect on AEW one day in the future. And we had an interesting development last night on Smackdown as well with the whole WWE Retribution faction angle that kind of made their presence known and debuted this past Monday night on Raw. They are also going to be a threat to SmackDown. They closed out the show by taking out chainsaws and cutting the ropes down. And apparently it's a faction full of 15-year-olds because not one of these people under those masks, was any taller than 5'7" or 5'8". So it looks like a faction of little people are going to run rampant on WWE, and it's interesting. There's a lot of speculation, and it gives us something to talk about, some of it good, some of it bad, and we'll get into all of that in this episode. Should be a fun, loaded podcast today. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. Thanks for being here. I know a lot of you guys were hanging out in the chat waiting for me to get here, so I'm glad that you're here. We got a lot to get into, and it should be a fun upcoming week on the channel. In 2 days, Monday night, as usual, I'll be up here right after Monday Night Raw to discuss the show, and the plan is to release on Thursday my 20th anniversary review of SummerSlam 2000. It's not going to be released on the actual 20th anniversary because that is not until the end of the month, but I wanted to get a SummerSlam-related video up prior to this year's SummerSlam, and that will make a great video, so keep a lookout for that on Thursday. A full podcast review of that show. I was there in Raleigh. I had great seats. I have a lot of memories of it, and I've even got some photos to share with you guys. So stay tuned for that on Thursday. And there you go. House cleaning done just like that. Let me say hello to everybody in the chat. Nail out a couple of super chats that might be in here. Shout out the patrons, and we'll get going here. Good to see everybody in here. Sam and Zane and Ben and Jet the Hawk, Big J, Sheamus, all you guys. George Morris, appreciate the $5 super chat right off the bat. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? What is new? My two cats are fighting nonstop. Marty Jannetty is a very sick man who needs help. What do you think? Well, we're going to get into that. I know I can relate to having two cats. My cats don't fight. They play fight, but sometimes it can get quite loud and quite gnarly in here. And right now, they're both laying next to each other on the bed, and no fights are happening. So I hope you are able to break that up. If they don't stop fighting, my suggestion and my advice would be just to book a last man standing match between the two, because whenever you can't settle your differences, you have to just have one crazy epic match to be able to finally settle the score. So I recommend that. If we've already done one of those, then put them in a Hell in the Cell. And as far as Marty Jannetty goes, that will be one of the first things we talk about today. The order of our topics: I'm going to start out with the wrestling news, and then we're going to do something a little bit different, and start with Smackdown, because Smackdown was last night, and it wasn't a particularly good show. A lot of people had a lot of negative things to say about the Retribution angle at the end, so I figured that would be a good thing to open with. We'll touch a little bit on this past week's Raw as well, and then we will dive headfirst into what was an awesome Wednesday night of wrestling. And for all the Wednesday nights for me to miss and not be home, because I'm only home for a few of them, most of the time I have to work, but if I want to be home, I can arrange to be home, and I grossly underestimated how good both of these two shows were going to be this week, and I really wish I would have been home to watch some of that live, especially AEW with the big debate and an amazing Moxley and Darby Allin match. And NXT had some good stuff, too. I'm not a particular fan of Pat McAfee. I'm not even a particular fan of the McAfee and Cole angle, but I thought the punt spot was good. So we'll talk about all that. Should be fun. Should be a fun episode. Let me say hello and shout out the patrons as well. I always want to give the active patrons just a verbal shout out every week on the podcast, so I appreciate you guys all being patient with me doing that. But I want to shout out and thank Apron Bump Podcast, Alan Carter, Daniel Rodriguez, Scotty Kira, Brandon Yelverton, Alex Reynolds, Scott Moss, Michael Tong, Nick Musser, Jimmy Anderson, K-Dog's Kennel, Ryan Y, Devlin Husband, Stephen Myers, the Double ZTV, Claudio Klevedetcher, John Rediford, Jordan Karg, Barry, MK400, John Riffle, Josiah, Blevins, Mr. Steve, Domanian Ewell, Michael Cuomo, Naveed, Keith Salyers, Blake Moran, and Nathan Walker. And as always, everybody that pledges $10 or more a month or has pledged $200 or more a lifetime, you are also shouted out in the description below. And just thank you for being supportive. I know I don't do a whole lot with the Patreon page, just, some podcast reviews and things like that. I really need to get better at that. I need to hire an assistant to help me, just put together more of my social media and stuff like that. But anyway, I thank you guys for supporting. It definitely helps, and it keeps the ball rolling and the channel growing. All right, let's dive into news here, man, because it's crazy. Let's start with just some minor stuff before we dive into, complete and utter insanity. Let's just start with some chill news. How about we talk about WWE SummerSlam this year? There is some news that was being reported this week that WWE is going to be going live for all of the SummerSlam-related events. So I haven't heard anything specific about TakeOver, but according to the reports, WWE is going to air SmackDown, SummerSlam, and Raw all live. So the 21st, 23rd, and 24th, I guess, will all be live. Like I said, no word on TakeOver, at least that I saw. And there's also no location to be announced. Now, I guess we're all assuming this is going to be at the PC, but we've heard reports that that's not where Vince wants it. He doesn't want it there. They're trying to come up with something different. We speculated a lot last week on the podcast. We could be talking a boat. We could be talking the beach, a barge. I suggested an offshore oil rig or platform or something like that. Some crazy-ass location to have SummerSlam just to change it up because, when you think about the way WrestleMania was, we can't do that again, man. So I'm really hoping that there's some sort of an 11th hour decision, or maybe WWE has something in mind and they just have not informed us of it yet. But I had been speculating the past couple of weeks that if they are going to do something different for SummerSlam, they better figure it out, man. So I can't imagine. I know it's crazy times right now, but I can't imagine WWE still at this point on August 8th trying to figure out where SummerSlam is going to be when we're 2 weeks away from it. Less than that, or 2 weeks from tomorrow, I guess. So they got to figure it out. They got to get it together. And if it's going to be somewhere cool, if it's going to be somewhere different and a different location than the Performance Center, I think it would be in WWE's best interest to inform us of that this Monday, no later than this Monday, because you want to get fans interested in this. You don't want to just hit us with it in the final week on the go-home show. Let us know now, because this thing is still on pay-per-view, right? They're going to want some people who don't have the network to go out and buy this shit and do something to create interest for it. And the way WWE likes to hammer everything into our heads, if they're going to have this thing at the beach and come up with some silly-ass little tagline to go with it, you would think this is something that they would want to spend at least 2 to 3 weeks beating us over the head with until we get there. So I think if SummerSlam is going to be somewhere other than the Performance Center, we need to know Monday. We'll see. Speaking of Monday Night Raw, we saw Raw last week. Really crazy show because it was just filled with chaos. Not only did we have Retribution making their presence known, we also had the tie-in of Shane McMahon's Raw Underground crap, which was this shoot-style fight underground type of vibe in a ring with no ropes. And I had some problems with it. Now, as the week has gone on, a lot of people have had positive things to say, or optimistic things, we should say, to say about Raw Underground, and I was surprised to find out that I was one of the more negative ones. So, you know what? I was like, point taken. I'm going to try to give this thing a chance. I'm going to try to give this another look this Monday, maybe not be so critical. I know one of my bigger issues with this past Monday was the production of it. The shaky fucking camera shit. We're going to talk about that later when we talk about Retribution on SmackDown. that the shaky-ass cameras and the multiple camera angles and the lighting and everything, if this is supposed to be like underground and low budget, it needs to look that way. It needs to look gritty. This didn't look gritty at all, but a lot of people were pointing out that this could be a really good way to get some people over. But at the same time, the way Monday Night Raw ended, it's hard to figure out what their intention was here for this. Shane McMahon might have just been brought in to introduce Raw Underground, and then they used the Hurt Business at the end of the show to take over Raw Underground, and they will be running things from now on because Bobby Lashley is a legit badass shoot fighter and Shelton Benjamin can wrestle his balls off. I wouldn't want to fuck with any of those guys. So those guys could just be running Raw Underground, and we might not see Shane McMahon again. I don't know. So it might just be something to use for the Hurt Business, and if they are a business, and MVP is an excellent mouthpiece. By the way, MVP, according to his Instagram page, has signed a multi-year deal with WWE, so he'll be sticking around for a while, which is great because he's awesome, and I would almost prefer the Hurt Business in charge of this Raw Underground stuff than Shane McMahon. So I guess we'll see a little bit more this Monday, but I'm wondering if it's going to be just Lashley and Shelton beating the crap out of guys. A lot of people even speculated that maybe they're going to use this as a way to really build Bobby Lashley as a tough guy to where he could potentially face Brock down the road. I really feel like that ship has sailed. It's going to be really hard for Lashley, I guess, to recover from all the dumb nonsense he's done for the past 2.5, 3 years in the WWE, but maybe this is a way to get fans to take him seriously, and maybe even Brock Lesnar could make an appearance in this thing, which some people pointed out as well. So I guess it just depends on where they go with it, but I think I'm going to give it more of a chance than I did this past Monday. I was kind of just confused by it. It was completely out of the blue. We heard nothing of it, and another thing that bothered me about this underground crap is that it was just like in the back room. Everything is being done and produced at the PC. I wish they would have found just some like off-site, like they don't have to go far, just go 10 miles down the road and find an old abandoned barn or something and buy it, set it up, and use that for your location. But when it's literally 50 feet from the ring, it doesn't feel like, even the announcers were like surprised when Shane was talking about it. I'm like, didn't you guys see this during the day? Didn't you see all this stuff being set up when you were in the same building all day long? It's not like it's a big basketball arena or a football stadium. It's a little ass performance center, gym. It's all too confined for me. So I almost wish that maybe it was on, a different site somewhere and they can just film it all there to where it at least looks like it's a little bit more underground. But the point of me talking about all of this was really to get to MVP's news of him signing the multi-year deal. And when you tie that into his new faction and this Raw Underground stuff, it really could be the beginning of one of WWE's major programs or angles in the company. But anyway, congrats to MVP. He's awesome. He does a good job in that role. And we'll see what happens with Raw Underground this week. So there's just kind of the minor tidbits I wanted to get into. Now we'll start getting into some of the heavy stuff. Let's start with the AEW heel stuff, and then we'll get into Mr. Idiot Jannetty. Let me scroll back up here and knock out a couple of super chats. It's good to see you in here again. A-Level, thank you, brother. Appreciate the $10. Hey, Greg, hope all is well with you. I loved AEW this week. Good to see a vicious, I guess you mean side of the Inner Circle. Moxley and Darby delivered a 12-man tag was cool. Yep, we're going to talk about all of that here in just a little bit. I thoroughly enjoyed Dynamite. It was a really fun show. That debate was fantastic. I was really looking forward to the main event. And the 12-man tag was much better than the 10-man tag the previous week. So, yeah, this was a solid Dynamite. And the ratings showed it because they came very close. They came within 100,000 viewers of 1 million, which they have not cracked since the very, very beginning. So it was a really good night of viewership for not only AEW, but NXT as well, even though AEW won very handily in the ratings. Chris Miner, appreciate the 5 as well. Who wins in the first Gimmick Battle Royal? What do you mean the first? Be the second, man. WrestleMania 17. Dr. Isaac Yankem, Ringmaster, Terra Ryzen, Triple H, Husky. Oh, yeah, I get it. I thought you were going to say like Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Husky Harris, Rocky Maivia, Mabel, or the Giant. Of all of those, first Gimmick Battle Royal. I'm trying to think who was the most over of those guys, not in their whole careers, but as those gimmicks. And I think by far it would have to be the Giant because he's the only guy who held a world title as that gimmick. Not Yankem, not Ringmaster, not Terra. All those guys are world champions except for Mabel, but not as that current gimmick. So, yeah, Giant's going to win that one, hands down. Hands down there. All right. Let me see here. Where were we at? Let's talk about the AEW heel stuff. Let's talk about the backlash from that. A couple of AEW wrestlers have deleted their Twitter just out of probably peer harassment, and there was a lot of just stuff going on around this online today. So let's get into that. First of all, the AEW heels, I guess it's like a fan club for women, and I think their intention here is really good, to kind of be inclusive and to give fans a nice community to come and, where they're away from, maybe the toxicness of some other social medias like Twitter and things like that. And it's a place where just fans can get together and chat about the product without any stupid opinions and without any, loudmouth bullshit or anybody just harping and obsessing about their meaningless opinions and what they like and what they don't like and what other people should like and what other people should don't like. A nice little quiet, almost like safe space, so to speak, community just for wrestling fans to get together. This is all for women. And they received a lot of backlash here because they had now debuted or unveiled this paywall. So basically, I think it's $49, $50 a year. So it's not like crazy, $50 a year gives you all access to things like virtual meet and greets, video conference discussions with wrestlers and people in the business, exclusive talent Q&A sessions, customized merchandise, special promotions, parties and watch-alongs and things like that. So it basically just grants you access to more, but it's behind that paywall. And I think a lot of the fans' criticisms this week are very, very valid, because this I do think is a shitty idea. I don't know whose idea it was. Everybody's going to point the finger at Brandy, of course. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who knows? The point is this idea in general is just probably just ill-advised because, number one, we're in the middle of a pandemic right now. People's financial situations are much, much, much different, and $49 a year doesn't sound like much. It's really not, but everybody's already paying for so much stuff for AEW to want to take more money from fans in order to enjoy a certain section of the product in these crazy times. A lot of fans were kind of turned off by, and they're right. And on top of that, when you think about the women's division in general in AEW, it's something that's been their weak spot. AEW has really not been able to improve this women's division much, despite all of us expecting them to improve it. Because one thing AEW, to their credit, I think has shown us since they started a year ago, is that for the most part, they have listened to a lot of fans' criticism. A lot of fans have said things, and AEW has changed. They've dropped a couple of angles. They've gone in different directions. When fans express displeasure or dislike in something, they generally kind of listen. So the fact that the fans are saying, look, AEW is great, we're all rooting for you, Dynamite is a wonderful show, but you really need to not only focus the women more and better, but also bring better women in. And I think part of the reason why we don't see the women heavily focused on is because whenever we do, the matches aren't very good. Every now and then they can pull out a good one. There are some good ladies there, but overall that division is extremely weak for national TV, and they know it. So that might be why they're not focusing it so heavily. So the fans are like, show more women. I'm like, well, when they do, you bitch about it. So it's almost like I almost don't blame AEW maybe for not having a ton of female and women's wrestling on Dynamite right now just because of the weakness of the division. If the division gets better, you can feature it more kind of thing. So I think the fans are almost, they're in that situation. I think they complain regardless because if the women aren't on the show, we're the women. And then when the women are on the show, they say the division sucks. So I think the division needs to get better almost before it's featured more, but there's also got to be a balance there. This past week on Dynamite, I think we had 3 or 4 minutes total of women's wrestling with no mention of the women's tag team tournament at all that's taking place online. They're doing that on YouTube, which honestly is probably a good idea. I think that thing is going to be a train wreck because the women's division is not good. Now you're getting all these random-ass tag team matches, and you're just bringing in random ladies like formerly Cameron is now there to work a match, which I believe that she's already lost, and she did not sign with them. She was just brought in for a one-time deal, I think, at least according to her. So I wouldn't put that on TNT anyway. So I'm really not disappointed that the tag team tournament is not on TV because it's going to suck. So the biggest, I think, complaint and the biggest criticism is that the women's division is terrible. You're already not featuring them and promoting them at all, really, on TV. And now you're going to expect us to pay to access some of this stuff. And it's I guess it was just a turnoff. And so my opinion on this is that they shouldn't have done that. It's not a fair comparison, but a few years back on YouTube, the Fiend brothers, they run the reaction channel or whatever, and they had done something sketchy as hell where they attempted to basically trademark all videos that like used the word reaction in them, or if that means like if I would have gone up and just reacted to something online, they could monetize my video and take my money because it's their idea. And they were offering ways for fans to get in with them to where they would monetize everything, but then they would give some of the other YouTubers, just the random YouTubers doing reaction videos, like small cuts of it, whatever it was, about 5-6 years ago now. It was shady as hell. And oh my God, did they receive backlash. They lost millions of followers, and within 24 hours, they scrapped the whole thing. So this is a type of deal where if the backlash continues, I think AEW might reconsider this, and they might drop it. I don't know. Has anybody signed up for this shit yet? Has anybody bought this? How many have they? I mean, they probably figured it was a way to be a cash grab here, because hell, if you just do the math, you just get, I don't know, 1,000 people to sign up for this. That's $50,000 right there. So, maybe there's a little bit of greed behind this. Maybe there's not. Maybe this really was done with the very best of intentions. But once you kind of see it in action and read it out loud, you're like, yeah, that's really kind of a shitty thing to do. So I think it was a dumb idea. I'm hoping they at least abandon it or stop it. I'm trying to think what was the most recent example of something like this. I can't think of it right now. But there's something like this that happened. There was something like this that was similar, and then within the very next day they decided not to do it. I can't even remember if it's wrestling related or not. But we'll see what AEW's response to this will be. Now, during the backlash and amidst all this backlash, Brandi has deleted her Twitter because fans were just coming after her. And this is where I'm going to kind of go on the defense of them, because I think fans are absolutely ridiculous. I can be heard, right? I think fans are absolutely ridiculous about how overboard they can go with their complaints. And one of the biggest things that I saw that I think is complete bullshit that I saw on Twitter a lot when Brandi, and I think it might have been Joey Janela, maybe somebody else, has like deleted their Twitter because fans are giving them so much shit. And these assholes on Twitter say things like, oh, the AEW talent just can't take it. They can't take constructive criticism. They have thin skin. They're snowflakes. They have to delete their Twitter. Are you fucking serious? Have you met Twitter? Have you been on wrestling Twitter? Have you ever read a wrestling tweet in your life? If there is one thing that wrestling fans have no clue whatsoever how to do, it's express constructive criticism. Yes, there are some that probably have intelligent things to say about why this is a bad idea. I'd say that's about 0.0001% of the fans that will say something actually kind of polite, but also acknowledging that it's a bad idea. The rest of them are going to be filled with idiotic, immature, rude, crude, cruel, ridiculous statements, and they just keep on and on and on. I'm like, nobody's asking you for a fucking kidney, okay? We're talking about $49 a year. Even if you work at McDonald's, you can afford that. And if you don't want to pay it, you don't have to pay it. It's an option. I agree. It was a dumb idea. I would never in a million years sign up for this. I'm not giving them my $50. Hell no. But at the same time, to continuously tag Brandi in every single tweet over and over and over again borders on not only obsession, but harassment. And I think when a talent or a wrestler or somebody like that deletes their social media, it's not because of the constructive criticism, it's because of the hate. They might actually read the constructive criticism, but when you look at all of the tweets that they're getting, what percentage of that do you think is constructive? A goddamn minuscule fraction that's barely even noticeable or being able to be seen because it's buried under so much hate. And that's one of the things I've said about the wrestling community for so long, is that even when they're right, they fuck it up. Even when they have a good point, they bury all of the good points under hate and nonsense and obsession, because the wrestling fans have nothing else to fucking do with their lives except that, and obsess on things that they don't like, and they never shut the hell up about it because they don't have a voice in the real world, because they're a little unemployed, inbred piece of shit and nobody cares about them. But on Twitter, their fingers are very loud. So they tweet and just spew out all this hate. And then when somebody can't take and just says, you know what, I'm done with this shit, I'm deleting my Twitter, then they're like, oh, they're just snowflakes. No, asshole, you're harassing them. And I don't think that Brandy's really deleted her Twitter, because if any of these AEW people really deleted their Twitter, the Young Bucks did it, Kenny Omega might have even done it, they're all back. You know, everybody comes back. I don't think they deleted it, they've deactivated it. I deactivated my personal Facebook account a couple of years ago, which we'll talk about here in a minute when I discuss Marty Jannetty, but I could bring it back if I wanted to. I just don't. So I think Brandy is kind of the same way. We'll see her back. Deactivating or deleting her Twitter is just a way to kind of stop, you know, just turn the faucet off, turn off the spigot, you know, stop the water from flowing. And then she can come back when everything blows over and the fans have moved on to something else to hate, you know, because it doesn't take much. They'll find something tomorrow to hate just as bad. And then it gets even worse when you have some, I've seen countless examples of this over and over and over. Somebody tweets a wrestler, and I saw something like this a couple months back. Somebody tweeted some criticism to Cody Rhodes, and it wasn't even that bad. It's a YouTuber. Didn't even say anything that bad. And Cody responded with like one sentence, just one little sentence. Cody responded, typed, and then Cody moved on with his day. The next 2 straight days from this Twitter user was one tweet after another. Oh my God, when Cody responded to him, the erection went right through and poked through the drywall on the ceiling. So excited. For the next 2 days, this person tweeted about Cody every day, every tweet, incessantly. Just Cody this and Cody that. He was so excited that Cody responded to his tweet kind of in a negative way. It took him 2 or 3 days to let it go. And I'm like, Jesus, man, move on. I don't even. It's like you forget what the issue was to begin with. You know, because so much nonsense happens after that, you forget what the original critique was. And their critique, I don't even remember what it was probably right. They probably had a point. But they got so obsessive about it, they turned around to where they wound up looking like the asshole. And I think that's what wrestling fans do, is like, even when they have a point, they fuck it up. And they make themselves look so silly to where now it's like, okay, the way you're acting is worse than what AEW was trying to do. Your reaction to this is worse than them charging $50. You were right with your critiques, with your initial assessment of that. Yeah, that's kind of shitty. $50, go fuck yourself. I'm not paying that. Your women's division is a joke. You know, you're trying to be inclusive, but yet it's being pretty exclusive because not everybody can afford that and not everybody wants to do it. And if it's meant just for women, what does that mean for, you know, bisexuals and transgenders and all that kind of stuff? Like, I don't know. Like, so it's not really as inclusionary as they want it to be type of thing. So little critiques like that, I think presented maturely, I think Cody, Brandy, AEW officials, and people like that will probably read and listen to happily. But it's the profanity, you know, and calling people, you know, the R word and shit like that for doing that and just going so over the top with it, you know, just a bunch of kids, bunch of children, you know, a bunch of socially inept idiots going so far overboard with stuff that they completely bury the criticism that is valid, because there is a lot of it here. And that's the thing. I might have just, you know, kind of shit on the fans a little bit there, but I'm actually in agreement with them. They are right. This was dumb. But I think you should move on. We get it. Everybody on, you know, even the biggest AEW fans admitted that this is not advisable. So we all agree there. So let's agree on it. It's dumb. Let's see what they do and move on, because it seems like it's has an overwhelmingly negative response. So how many of these $50 a year subscriptions are they really going to sell? They're probably, the numbers aren't going to lie there. So they might wind up just scrapping this whole idea when they realize that nobody's going to sign up for this shit. So, yes, make your criticisms known. If AEW is doing something stupid, tell them. But just don't be stupid about it and don't make yourself look dumber than what they're actually doing. And that's what the wrestling fans did there. So I think everybody just took that way overboard and have not been able to let it go. They just get so excited to find something they hate that, you know, find something you like and have that much passion for that. You know, if only the fans had this much passion for stuff that they actually liked, you know, imagine the wrestling community might be a much more positive place, you know what I mean? So, yes, the idea is dumb. $50, no way. Go to hell with that, AEW. But at the same time, does Brandy need to die? Come on, grow the fuck up. Anyway, that's that with AEW heels and all that. Now let's talk about our friend, Mr. Marty Jannetty. Oh my God, where to even start with this dude? Man, oh man. Hey, guys, do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button for me. I'd appreciate it. Okay, so Marty Jannetty. I have talked a lot about Marty Jannetty over the years. For those of you who follow me on Twitter, shoot me a follow, by the way, at Good Mic Work. I have posted many times about Marty in the past because, as I mentioned my old personal Facebook account a little while ago, I used to be friends with Marty Jannetty. I friend requested him, and he accepted years ago. And I began to notice, shortly after becoming friends with him, about how crazy he really is. I knew he wasn't in a good place. I always knew he had drug problems. He looks like shit. He's never been able to clean himself up ever. I don't know how he's managed to stay alive all this time. And he just parties. He has never stopped partying, ever. There's never been a time in his life where he has not partied. And the fact that he's like pushing 60 now is crazy. And he's always posted really crazy things, all just misspelled, misworded. They are definitely fueled by drugs and alcohol, obviously, because he is literally on meth or something 24/7. You know, he just, when he talks, he just mumbles, you know, he just mumbles. He's got brown fucking teeth. His eyes are all crooked. He just looks like, you know, he just looks like he fell in a well and got left there for like 3.5 months and pulled out. And he's just a mess. And all of his Facebook posts are disturbing, filled with homophobic slurs and just crazy shit. And he misspells everything. And he basically types like he's 13, you know, like a 13-year-old kid would in Brooklyn, New York or something. He just types like an idiot. So he's put up things about a lot of hookup stories about a lot of these women that he hooks up with or sleeps with or whatever. And he's brought up a couple of disturbing ones. I think it was a year or two ago. He posted a picture of a girl and said, we were really attracted to each other, but we held off on sex because there's a chance that I could be her dad because I hooked up with her mom years ago. So we had to wait for the DNA test. But luckily, I'm not the father. So now I get to sleep with her. Like, crazy. And this is only one of probably dozens upon dozens of really equally crazy posts that he's made. And I've posted screenshots throughout the years on my Twitter of just some crazy shit that he said. I'm like, look at this guy. This isn't even a point where, you know, because when it comes to certain people with demons and problems, you know, like Scott Hall and Jake Roberts and guys that, you know, DDP has taken in, they don't, they make you feel sorry for them. They're like, oh my God, you know, they make you say they need help. They can be better people type of thing. Marty is so far gone that I don't even think DDP wants to touch him. He has no desire at all to get better, to get help. And he's a pretty shitty human being. I mean, he's horrible. I've seen some of the things he said. He's, you know, like I said, the constant stories about hookups, racial and homophobic slurs. He also offers his political opinions, which I don't think it's going to take much of a imagination to think about who he's going to be voting for in November, based on some of the shit that he says and the way he acts. And he's just a drug-addicted, crackhead, Georgia country bumpkin. He's just like literally a piece of human shit. And I have no sympathy for him, and I have no respect for him. I think some of the things he says and does is really disgusting. And he's just a gross human being. And I don't know. I don't know how he's managed to live in the South that long and do that amount of drugs without being in jail. Like, look at Sunny. You know, Sunny's been in jail. Sunny's back in jail. You know, she's constantly in jail for, like, screwing up. And her problem isn't even really drugs. I'm sure drugs is a part of it, but I think she's just more crazy and obsessive than anything else. Where Marty, I don't think, you know, there's a minute of the day where he's not high on something. And he's still doing it. You know, I mean, there was a time when Marty Jannetty was a great looking guy. He was a great wrestler and he could fight. Like, he's a tough guy. You know, if Marty Jannetty, you know, he's stronger than Shawn Michaels. I know they got in one little scuffle in the past when they were the Rockers, but like in a straight up fight, Marty would beat the hell out of Shawn Michaels. You know, Marty's a tough guy, and he's lived a crazy life and everything, and he's probably had a very interesting childhood, as he would reveal here in this Facebook post. So all you got to do is just go look at his Facebook page, read through a few years of his posts, and you can make your own judgment. That will be all the proof you need to see that I challenge you to find a crazier person in this world than Marty Jannetty. So he's back at it again. A couple days ago, he posted the following on Facebook, and this is regarding his girlfriend, Winnie. that he's been with for years, because I remember even back when I was friends with him on Facebook, he would post about Winnie all the time. But while being with Winnie, he's also posting about all these hookups he has throughout the years, and he just goes to Vegas and just finds these just random tunnel homeless people and hooks up with them or something. He's got to just be a walking disease dish here, this guy, I'll tell you. But anyway, he posts this on Twitter on Facebook, and I quote, and I'm gonna read this the way it's written. So it's not my grammar that sucks here, it's Marty's grammar. So anyway, and I quote, "I never told no one this, even my brother Gino, 'cause Gino would have killed him, and I didn't want my brother gone. Hell, he'd only recently come home from Vietnam, I believe he means Vietnam. I was 13, working Victory Lane's bowling alley, buying weed from a FAG that worked there, and he put his hands on me. He dragged me around to the back of the building. You already know what he was going to try to do. That was the very first time I made a man disappear. They never found him. They should looked in the Chattahoochee River, but Winnie, parentheses, the girl in these pics, I likes you, so damn much, probably my favorite, but I promised myself way back then nobody would ever hurt me again. That includes you. I loved you, but you hurt me with your effing Jamaican jealousy. You can go your own way. I don't need you." Now, down in the comments, somebody asked if Marty was like, okay, like, you okay, bro? Well, clearly not. And he responded, quote, "Me and Winnie just had a fallout, but if you're asking about the other thing, yes, that was a billion years ago. Plus, I have the satisfaction of knowing that bitch-ass ninja never got to do another kid like that." Okay, so Marty is claiming here that when he was 13, working at a bowling alley, that this guy that he regularly bought weed from, and he would go on to say in another post that I'll read in a minute, that they always used to make fun of him because he was gay. And he said he was going to take him around to the back of the building and, I guess, molest him or something like that. Now, that's horrible. That's awful. But this is Marty Jannetty we're talking about here, you know? This is not like a speaking out thing. This may very well have happened, you know, but for fuck's sake, I mean, what can you take Marty seriously for? Nothing. He's a walking idiot. You know, he everything out of his mouth is bullshit. So, you know, can you really take him at face value here that he was going to get, you know, molested by a gay guy? You know, I think it's equally as plausible based on the way he talks that this was a hate crime. I think it was 50-50 shot there either way. He was either about to be molested or he just wanted to beat up a gay guy. You know, I don't trust Marty at all, anything he says, including even the story about him making a guy disappear. Marty probably didn't do it. It was probably just, this is another, either a really desperate or poor cry for attention or cry for help. But I don't think Marty cries for help. I don't think he gives a shit. I don't think he will ever clean himself up. I don't think Marty has what it takes to get through rehab or anything. I just don't. Just based on his personality, just based on the way he is, I think he's weak. And I think he would never, ever make it through any sort of detoxing or rehab at all. And Marty, if you're listening, prove me wrong, bitch. Go to rehab. Sign up tomorrow. You have smoked your last crack rock. Go to rehab. Come out in 6 months, a new man. And tell me what an idiot I am for having it wrong the whole time. I would love to be wrong. I would love for that to be the case. But until then, go fuck yourself, you dirty bastard. Anyway, Marty then, the next day, made an appearance on Boston Wrestling to clarify his comments. So he's going to clarify them now, okay? Good. I'm sure this will not make him look like an idiot at all. He goes on to clarify his comments when asked about this, and I quote, he says, "I said he disappeared. I didn't say I killed him. I said he disappeared. The headlines were Marty admits to murder." So he's just saying that he made the guy disappear. Okay, Marty, I don't know if that really makes you less guilty. He went on to say, recalling the night of the incident, he says, and I quote, "We used to make fun of him because we knew he was gay. It's known he was gay. He just never touched me before. We're in the car." So he said he went behind the bowling alley at first, and now he's in the car. So right there, that's a discrepancy. We're in the car. He grabbed me there, and I'm like, no, no, no. I have nothing against gay people. Well, Marty, that's bullshit because you just clearly proved that you do in your previous post. That don't bother me. Just don't force the issue on me. He gently fondled me. I wanted to get out of the car, and he got mad and angry. He jumped out of the car, grabbed me by my hair, and I couldn't get away. He's dragging me to the back of the bowling alley and threw me to the ground, and he was trying to pull my pants down. It was a brick laying there. What do you do when you're 13? I can't say he deserved to die, but he deserved to get his ass beat. When I was beating him in the head with a brick, I was only trying to beat his ass. I wasn't trying to kill him. Can you imagine dragging a guy to a river and throwing him and then finding out on the news this guy is missing? So Marty's trying to say there that he would feel bad if he found out that, he might have killed the guy. But if you're bashing him in the head repeatedly with a brick, what do you think that is? If you want to beat his ass, you smash him repeatedly in the head with your fist. If you're doing it with a brick, how many of those shots is it going to take to really kill him anyway? Even if you are 13. So this, even if it is all true, for him to even be dumb enough, that's the thing here. That's the craziest part, is this guy is actually stupid enough to say any of this shit publicly when he's technically a public figure, even though nobody gives a shit about this meth head anyway. He's a former wrestler who's, done a lot of things. A lot of people know who he is, and he's going out publicly on social media talking about a crime that he committed and a potential murder. Now, I guess TMZ had gotten wind of this. They reached out to, I think it's Columbus County or wherever it is in Georgia, the police department there, and they said that they are going to investigate this, and they're going to start by seeing if there's any missing people from that area based on, the post that Marty made. And I guess there isn't right now, but there's probably going to be a little bit more investigation to this. My gut tells me Marty didn't kill anybody, but just to even go on and say this and to make it seem like you killed somebody and then realize, oh, that was fucking dumb, when all of his friends and a lot of people were saying, dude, what are you doing? Even in Marty's messed up mental state, he knew he messed up. So then he tried to clarify, but he didn't exactly make himself look any better. I just said I hit him with a brick. I didn't say, or I just said I made him disappear. I didn't say I killed him. I'm like, well, nobody ever saw him again. What the hell do you think happened to him? So this is all just so crazy because Marty, he's just a walking train wreck. That's all he is. And when you read this stuff, you just wonder how much weird shit he got into, back in the day. I mean, he obviously did not have a very good childhood if he's working at a bowling alley at 13. I know maybe back then you can get away with a little bit more, but can you really work somewhere when you're 13? And this all happened like late at night. I mean, who's 13 and buying weed from a guy behind a bowling alley? Man, what kind of childhood did this guy have? So he's clearly, obviously, probably a product of his environment, which is sad. He partied all throughout his life, even the beginning days of the Rockers, the Midnight Rockers, going into WWE, even getting fired from WWE with Shawn because they partied too hard. Marty got fired like 5 different times from WWE. All of this time, he's never, ever, ever been clean. Ever. Ever. He lost a big Intercontinental title match to Shawn at that Royal Rumble, I believe because he was late or something happened. He did something shady that weekend, and I think he might have been in line to win the title, and they took it away from him. Wound up giving him the belt a few months later on Monday Night Raw instead. So he's done countless things in the business to get himself in trouble. He's made himself look like an ass repeatedly throughout the years. His Facebook posts are extremely disturbing. And, I wanted to unfriend him for so long, but it was like, it was like the Howard Stern thing from back in the day, back when he was getting crazy ratings and making a name for himself. He was getting such good ratings because the people who loved him wanted to hear what he was going to say. And the people who hated him wanted to hear what he was going to say. And it was kind of the same thing with me and Marty. I couldn't stand his ass, but I also couldn't look away from some of those crazy Facebook posts that he was making. So as crazy as this is, I'm not even sure if it really ranks up there with the craziest. Some of the things that he's posted, like I said, about this potential daughter of his and all the crazy hookup stories and just random shit that he's messed up, when he's high on drugs and then he post something publicly. I just think that that's insane. But anyway, he's never without a dull moment. This is just one of the more disturbing stories because it does involve a really serious crime. But at the very least, includes serious assault and maybe even attempted murder. Even if Marty didn't kill this guy, if you're smashing him in the head with a brick repeatedly, that's attempted murder. So I want to see if they can find this guy. If this story is true, let's try to figure out his name. If Marty remembers this specific story so well, there's got to be somebody out there that knows the name of this person that Marty's describing. Let's look him up. Let's find him. Let's get his side of the story. And if he was bashed repeatedly in the head with a brick 10 times and he's got brain damage to this day, let's put Marty in jail. That's the only thing that's going to save Marty is jail, because there's just no way. And I just can't believe that Marty is walking around free and he's been able to avoid, we've never seen too many. I know he's been arrested a bunch of times. I'm certain of it, but we haven't heard a lot about Marty's legal troubles. Back in the day, the Rockers paralyzed that guy in WWE. They had to go to court for that. And I'm sure Marty's had some DUIs and probably some drug-related arrests, I'm sure. But it's never been to the point where he's been thrown in the clink for a month or 2 months or a year at a time, like Sonny is and a few others. So how this guy has managed to avoid jail time, I have no idea. I do think he's got some cop friends, down there in Georgia. He's mentioned them a time or two on Facebook as well, that he's got some friends that are sheriffs or cops or something. So they might have helped him out before, of him getting really in trouble if he's ever been caught with anything. So it's probably why he hangs out down there so much. I don't know, but it's a mess. What do you guys make of old Marty? What do you think? Yeah, that's right. A good point there, Prince 66. A lot of people were saying Marty Jannetty is probably going to be a future Dark Side of the Ring episode, and we had talked about that at the end of Season 2 when we speculated on Season 3, and I said that they couldn't do Marty. I said you can't do Marty because Marty's story is not over. I don't think you can do a Dark Side of the Ring on someone who is still embroiled in all of that turmoil. You could do China because, unfortunately, China's no longer with us. I think the only Dark Side of the Rings that really work are with people who are either, number one, deceased, or number two, rehabilitated. And you can't do a Dark Side of the Ring on a guy that is just still a complete and total crackhead. So Marty has to either die, or Marty has to clean himself up and try to make the best out of his last few years of his life, which, with as much heavy drug use as he has done, can this guy still be around for 20 more years? Maybe, if he cleans himself up. So why don't you do that and make the best out of your last couple of decades here and try to redeem yourself for all the dumb shit you've done before? So if he gets to that point ever, and I just said that I don't think he has it in him, but if he did, then there's your Dark Side of the Ring episode. But I think it would be weird to do one on him, and then let's say 2 years later he dies of a drug overdose or something. It's a whole nother chapter that would need to be added. So his story isn't done being written yet. And I think that when it comes to Dark Side of the Ring episodes, that has to be the final chapter kind of thing. There still can't be, question as to what the future holds, and that's what we would get with Marty there. But whenever this whole situation resolves itself in the life and times of Marty Jannetty, then we can start talking documentary, because it certainly will make an interesting one. So anyway, that's that about Marty. Let's talk about one other little piece of news as well. We've got this kind of an internal shakeup in Warner Media. I saw this. Dave Meltzer had posted an article that was done by Variety.com. And this is kind of big news, and it could potentially affect AEW. And it says the headline was, it goes on to list several details, but the headline is, in a massive executive shakeup at Warner Media, both Bob Greenblatt and Kevin Riley are exiting the company. Keith Kakaza, Executive Vice President of Corporate Marketing and Communications, is also stepping down. Now, this is significant because apparently Bob Greenblatt was really responsible for AEW even being a company, being where it is. He's the one that greenlit the whole project and is a big reason why they're on TNT. So without this guy, AEW might have not have been able to get this TV slot and this deal and not been able to get the funding and the money up to really get the company going, because without a TV deal, you really don't have much there. So it's concerning. I think TNT, from what I understand, is pretty happy with AEW's performance. Like I said, like we've all heard, they're doing very well in their demo. But at the end of the day, they're not even drawing 1 million viewers. So I'm hoping the exit of these people will not potentially affect AEW's future, maybe getting canceled or anything like that, because that's really what hurt WCW back in the day. If they would have just had Ted Turner behind them the whole time, where he was the one that says, now they're going to stay on TNT every Monday night, 9 o'clock, and to 11, no matter what, no matter how bad the ratings are, they could have continued. But when there was the merger, and the change of ownership so many different times, it really kind of got WCW caught in the middle there, and they found themselves being owned by a company that didn't want them. So, this isn't to that degree. It's not like another merger here or anything like that, but you have significant executives leaving that played a primary role in AEW being there to begin with. And it makes you worry And I really want to, I would really like AEW to have a firm, strong home on TNT. And I think as long as they keep doing what they're doing, they will. You know, even during the pandemic, I think they're doing pretty well. I mean, close to 1 million viewers is pretty good for empty arena wrestling. And I think if we can get back to, you know, if we can get a vaccine and we can get life back to normal and put fans in an arena again, I think AEW will continue to flourish. But, you know, little stories like that just make you wonder and make you worry and make you hope that nothing, that this won't wind up affecting negatively to AEW in any way. We'll see. Best of luck to them, though. Like I said, we've been going almost an hour here, and it's just we're not just now getting into SmackDown, and then we're going to wrap things up with the Wednesday night shows because they were fantastic. But I wanted to talk about SmackDown technically first, even though we're an hour into the show here, because of the Retribution stuff that we saw at the end of the show, and that was a big topic of conversation last night on social media. A lot of speculation who it can be, and I've got some ideas. We'll see. I'm not. I think on Monday, I was optimistic about it. I'm like, okay, this could be good. You know, because especially if they reveal this to be like recently released stars, they could be on to something big here if they did it that way. But, you know, it's got to be done right. I said this on Monday. We've seen the Nexus, and we've seen NWOs, and we've seen some of these invasions where people come in and just tear shit up. You know, the Nexus did it all those years ago where they ripped apart the ring, and we got a little bit of that last night, but it wasn't nearly as good and just kind of hokey and weird. So my opinion of Retribution has changed just in the span of like 5 days. From Monday to Friday, I liked it Monday, did not like it so much last night. So anyway, we'll run through the results of SmackDown here pretty quick because it wasn't a great show, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on it because I want to give AEW and NXT some attention later. But SmackDown opens up with Matt Riddle versus Sheamus. So that's kind of an interesting match. Matt Riddle won via DQ. Chad Gable tried to interfere in the match, tried to collect on that King's Ransom thing, and Matt Riddle gets pissed and beats the absolute shit out of him on the outside of the ring, rams his head into the announce desk a bunch of times, kicks him up against the stairs, and then he gets in the ring, and Sheamus also beats the crap out of Gable. It's like Riddle and Sheamus were both pissed at him. So Sheamus and Corbin were then shown backstage, and Sheamus is mad at Corbin, like, look, you mess up one of my matches again, you're going to have me to answer to, and all of that. So it looks like they're building up a little mini heel angle, and both Sheamus and Corbin would wrestle twice each in this night, and there was a whole lot of DQs and a whole lot of outside interference in this show. After that, I think we had the horrible dirt sheet. Now, the Sonya Deville part was good. Sonya Deville is a star. She is. My God, WWE, don't screw her up. I think she's fantastic and just does a terrific job in her promos, and she's finally getting a chance to show that. She's been saying it, give me a chance to show what I can do, you know, because her first year and stuff in there, I liked Sonya, but I always thought they could do more with her, especially with her kind of like her fighting background. And I was getting tired of the put your hair up and square up and all. I don't want nursery rhymes. I want somebody, you know, conveying some emotion and stuff. And this feud with Mandy turned out to be 100 times better than I ever thought it would be. And then the Otis tie-in turned out to be better than I ever thought it would be. And then what we saw last week with the brutal attack of Mandy Rose backstage, cutting her hair off and stuff. I'm like, I am loving me some Sonya Deville. So all that stuff was great. Anytime Sonya speaks, I'm happy. Where it got dumb was when they brought out the hair that Sonya cut off for Mandy, and they had it up on the screen. It was almost like a Muppet, and they had a pair of eyes on it. I'm like, what are they doing? You know, this is Fox. This was so bad. I can't even spend any more time on it. Made me throw up. Let me check my phone real quick here because I got some messages coming in. I want to make sure I don't have any. Oh, is that what I'm doing? Y'all, am I running 2 streams right now? I thought so. Let me just pause real quick and see what the hell is going on here. Maybe not. Okay, when I set up the stream, it actually said that there was more than one. I didn't know what it was talking about. But my girlfriend is texting me saying I'm running 2 streams at the same time. What's happening here? Oh, I am, aren't I? That's weird. Pardon me while I just figure out what the hell is going on here. Oh, that is weird. Okay, how do I stop this? That is really weird, y'all. I don't know how I did this. I'm going to try to shut one off. I don't know how to stop. I don't know what I've done. I have no idea what I've done. Apparently, I've got 2 streams going, and I'm going to try to shut one down. So if you're on the stream right now that has 33 viewers, get off of that and go to this one. I'm going to put the link in the comment here. All right, it's that one. So David and Crash and Sam, you guys are all there. Divide by audience. Yeah, so go to that one. And how the hell do I shut this one off? So the problem is I don't want to shut the wrong one off. That is so weird. What did I do? What did I do? Here we go. I'll figure it out. There we go. Let's go over here. Live control room. All right, I'm going to try to shut this stream down now. I don't know. I'm sorry about that, guys. That is really bizarre. But here's the thing. I can't figure out how to stop it. What have I done? Anyway, pardon me, guys. We're going to work this out. We're going to do this live here and try to... All right, let me go over here and do it this way. Let me just delete the whole thing. Okay, here we go. I am deleting this stream. I'm going to see if it works. More actions. Delete forever. Delete forever. That is so weird. I have no idea how that even happened or what I did. Maybe I screwed something up last night when I was setting up the stream. All right. Well, as Macho Man would say. Hey, Devlin, what's going on? Barry, I got some super chats to answer. That is so bizarre. It like won't give me the option to end the stream. Like that's the weirdest thing. Normally I can just shut it right off when I'm done. Sure. One more thing. All right, that might have worked. All right. Well, all right. I think that might be off now. I was about to say, I felt like yeah. Oh my God. Okay, so those of you, hopefully you guys are over here to the right one now. Okay, one successfully deleted. Okay. I think we might be all right now. I think everybody might be here. I think the other one is done. Let me know if the other stream is still up here. That is a first on this channel. I have never seen that before. I don't know what I did. So if you were on that other stream and you sent a super chat, I think I got a couple of screenshots of them. I owe you some love because that got crazy. Chris Ludecki, man, appreciate that $5 on that other one. And thank you, WWE Fan, for the $5 as well. How Wheezy is here, and WWE Fan with another $2. Yeah, thanks, guys, for all those super chats on that other video. I did not realize I was running 2 streams at the same time. No wonder my audience was low. Hopefully the other one is gone. I think it is gone. Weird. Weird. Okay, good. No, the other one is gone. There's only one. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't even think that was a glitch. I think I might have done something last night because I set this up at like 2 in the morning and I must have... Did I do 2 of them? And then when I was trying to go live, I had this like warning message that I kind of disregarded because I'd never seen it before. It's like, you're running 2 streams. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I just went live. And then apparently both went live. That's weird. That's weird. Anyway, we're back now. All right, everybody here? How Wheezy? Thank you, man. Good to see you. Gray or Barry MK is here. Yeah, I tried to divide my audience. I was going head-to-head with myself. I wanted to see who was going to win in the ratings. If Greg was going to win in the ratings or Greg was going to win in the ratings. I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate you guys sitting through that. That was definitely interesting. All right, let me go back up here and just make sure I catch people up, and then I'm going to resume the SmackDown results. I think I left out with the wonderful dirt sheet and Mandy Rose's hair. And next up, we got Cesaro defeating Lince Dorado. But before we get into the rest of it, let me just make sure Again, on that other stream, I do know from Chris and how Wheezy WWE fan, I missed answering your actual super chats. I apologize for that. Barry, thanks for the $2. Google Translator must be posting for Marty. Can you imagine trying to, if he was speaking that out loud, like what the closed captioning on your TV would say? Oh my God. He is just such a mess. Such a mess. All right, Devlin, there you are, dude. Good to see you, man. Appreciate the $5. Hey, yo, Greg, lost my title to my current car, so now I have to order a new one before I can trade in for a new car. Oh, that is a pain in the ass. Yeah, the title is important. You always have to have that. Oh, yeah, if you own it. Yeah, I was about to say I don't have my title because I was financing my last one. But yeah, you got to have all that info. Oh, crap. Well, I hope that works out. Hurry up and get down there and get that Civic, man. It's time. You are ready. Oh, man. Anyway, but I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Elizabeth, for letting me know about that. And I wasn't paying attention. All right. Weird. I think we can resume now. All is right with the world. Stream is back to normal. Here's another part of SmackDown from last night that I found a little bit disappointing. After the Cesaro and Lince Dorado match, nothing really to say there. They did a Fiend promo. Now, we saw last week the show kind of went off the air in a really awesome way with Bray Wyatt confronting or, attacking Alexa Bliss and putting the claw in her mouth and all of that, seemingly as a way to get to Braun Strowman because Braun and Alexa have all that history going back, to the past couple of years. And everybody assumes that Braun would protect Alexa if he had to. So the Fiend went after her and targeted her. This I almost didn't like because they just, I think they show a replay of what happened and they cut to the ring and the lights are out and they're red and Alexa is in the ring. Basically, she's wearing the same shit she wore last week. It's almost like they're trying to make it seem like he kidnapped her or he's been in possession of her this whole time, even though it was all filmed last week. That's probably why she was wearing the same thing. But to pass it off like he's been in control of her for this whole week, but yet her hair is still done and her makeup is still done was really weird to me. And the interaction between the two was even weirder. He, he's kind of standing behind her and then he crawls over to her and he's about to, he makes the motion to do the mandible claw into her mouth, but she kind of puts her hand up and stops it, but ever so gently. It's not like she blocks it. She just puts her hand on his and then she reaches up and she kind of like caresses his mask and touches that weird scar thing in the mask, which I liked because that seemed to frustrate Bray. Bray like got up and like walked away and I'm like, well, last week you just put the claw on her. Why is she touching you? And now all of a sudden you're conflicted about it. I liked that because it makes you wonder, number one, why Bray is conflicted. And, number two, why Alexa was able to have that control over him. Is Bray Wyatt trying to brainwash her or mind control her over to his side? And, so she'll just acquiesce or submit to anything he wants to do. And he's frustrated that she didn't take the claw and touched his head or something. I don't know why he was mad there. That was kind of interesting, though. But then Strowman showed up on the screen. We get a big, giant shot of his enormous nose, and he goes on to say that he doesn't care about Alexa Bliss, which was interesting. I didn't expect him to say that. He doesn't care about Alexa Bliss. The Fiend, if he needs to face his own fears, and he needs to face me at SummerSlam. So it's almost like Braun being the aggressor here. Braun wants to snuff out the Fiend. And he's even saying stuff, hey, you can go after Alexa all you want. I don't care. You can't play these mind games with me. And that surprised me. I thought Braun Strowman would be a little bit more upset about what Bray did to Alexa. So now I'm just wondering if Alexa is still going to be a part of this going forward. With Braun saying he doesn't care about her, does that mean the Fiend's interest in her is no longer there either? Well, Braun doesn't care about her. I don't care about her. Or is she now too deep into this thing to where she might be under his control? Maybe she turns heel or falls to the dark side, and then maybe people can blame Braun Strowman for this. You didn't care. You allowed this to happen. You could have saved her, but you didn't give a shit kind of thing. So it does open up some interesting possibilities there, I think, but I was almost expecting a little bit more than something really similar to we saw last week. I almost wanted to see like Alexa Bliss backstage or Alexa Bliss interacting with Nikki Cross a little bit, maybe being a little traumatized by it, having some PTSD from the whole situation, or maybe Nikki says, oh, are you okay? What happened to you last week? Or where did Braun take you? And Alexa's like, I don't want to talk about it, or whatever, something like that to really make you wonder what exactly the Fiend did to her. But instead, her being in there in the same outfit was really weird because it made me feel that they were just giving it away that it was all filmed all on the same day. And if they wanted to make it seem like she's been with Wyatt for a week, then her hair should have been messed up. She should have had no makeup on. Should have been pulled back in a ponytail, or maybe just out there in a t-shirt or something like that. If he's held her captive or whatever. I don't know. I just would have done that part differently. And at the end of the day, I was kind of hoping it would be a little bit more interesting this week. I was looking forward to see Alexa's demeanor this week, and we didn't see that much different other than the very curious kind of caress of Bray Wyatt's head. So do you guys think that she can still go heel in all of this, and she can still kind of maybe even become Sister Abigail, or possibly just be a heel, maybe be a darker character? You know, I always remember when Brian Pillman, he had gained possession of Terry Runnels right before he died, and had her for 30 days, and then he would dress her up in like black leather and dark makeup and shit like that. So, you know, do you think Alexa Bliss will start being like Ruby Riott or something? I don't know. I'm curious if it's even going to be any sort of a change for her at all, or if she'll go right back to being same old Alexa Bliss. I think that it would be cool, since Strowman made it clear that he didn't care about Alexa Bliss. I think Alexa should stick with Bray and just be with him. And we can all speculate as to why. Maybe we'll never know. Alexa can just kind of be under his control or something. I wouldn't be surprised now if they do that. But if they put her right back with Nikki and it's like business as usual, what was the point of all that? I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. Should be interesting to watch. Next up after that, we had Jeff Hardy taking on Baron Corbin. This was another match that ended in a DQ due to outside interference. Sheamus comes down to the ring in the middle of the match while Jeff Hardy's on the outside of the ring, and Bro kicks Jeff Hardy right into the ring apron. And that got Baron Corbin mad that, you know, Corbin kind of sabotaged one of Sheamus's matches earlier, so Sheamus did the same thing to him. Now we go to commercial, we come back, we got a Baron Corbin and Sheamus match, which is interesting. Part of me is wondering if Sheamus is maybe making a slow turn to being a babyface. I'm not sure. So Sheamus takes on Corbin. Matt Riddle interferes in this match, so we have more outside interference. Luckily, this one did not end in a DQ. He basically just hops on the top rope and jumps over Baron Corbin, and Corbin's distracted by that. He turns around, eats a bro kick, and gets pinned. So Sheamus went 1-1 on his two matches, and Corbin was 0-2. So that's good. At least they're not putting the world title on Baron Corbin, you know, because we've all had plenty of negative things to say about him. Next up after that, we had a really good Big E interview with Caleb Braxton backstage. I liked it. Big E looked great, and a lot of people have been speculating, you know, what they should do with Big E in his singles run. Should he be the next challenger for AJ Styles, or should he go after a bigger prize later on this year, maybe targeting The Fiend or Braun Strowman? And there's also been talk about what Big E should do in terms of being a heel or a face. And I saw a lot of people thinking and saying that they think he should go heel and be like a badass monster and all of that. Now, I've talked about Big E going singles before in the past, prior to the New Day being injured. We've been talking about this for maybe 2 years on the podcast. And one of my biggest concerns was that, you know, if they turned Big E or if they push Big E to go singles, I almost think there's only one way to do that. And that is to turn him heel, break up the New Day, have him turn on Kofi and Xavier, beat the crap out of both of them, and then go on to be like this big, bad, vicious heel type of thing. And I express concern with that because Big E is so ridiculously charismatic and fun and funny and entertaining. And he's just fun, F-U-N, with a capital F, man. And I wouldn't want to see that go away. But now that both members of the New Day are injured, he doesn't have to turn heel on them. He's gotten their blessing, both of them, to go on a singles run on his own. And they talked about that in the Caleb Braxton interview. And he says a lot of people could conceive or perceive that me being with the New Day could be holding me down. That could be a weight. But in all actuality, it's the opposite of that. Kofi and Xavier, they bring me up. And he basically just reiterated the strength and the brotherhood of the New Day. And I actually like that because I think there does have to be like a balance. You can't be the crazy, silly, goofy Big E all the time if you want to be a serious contender. I understand that. But I can't imagine Big E being like a Karrion Kross type. I almost think that would be a waste of his talent and his charisma. There's got to be a way, because The Rock was funny and fun-loving, right? But he was still serious and an ass kicker. So The Rock could do it. Big E, I mean, nobody is as good as The Rock, but Big E's pretty damn close in terms of just how ridiculously entertaining and fun-loving he is. And there is a way to balance that. And I saw a lot of people, this Big E thing's not going to work unless he turns into an ass-kicking heel. I'm like, I disagree. I think maybe he needs to lighten up a little bit on the silliness. Sure, you don't want to be silly all the time, but if you balance it and you just bring that silliness up with enough credibility to where, it perfectly balances the scales, I think you can be successful. And I think there's never been a better example of that than The Rock with his Rudy Poos and his Bob, but my name's Billy and it doesn't matter what your name is. And all that shit that he did had us laughing our asses off. But we all felt like he was a credible world champion. And that took some time, though, because we didn't feel like that at first. There was even some fan cam footage that surfaced online. I saw it on Twitter a couple weeks ago of somebody video recording, like, from a live event, one of the very first People's Elbows that he ever did. And you could hear people saying, like, that was stupid. It's the dumbest thing we've ever seen. And that turned out to be one of the most over moves in all of wrestling. So I do think that Big E can remain a babyface. I do think Big E can remain entertaining. I think he can remain funny and fun, and he can remain silly sometimes and still be a credible challenger for titles as a babyface. I don't think, as funny as it was, I don't think he should be rolling sideways down the ramp in every match. I'll give you that. But at the same time, to think that the only way he's going to find success is to be a heel, that can't be right, because he's already been a heel. We already know what he looks like as a heel. He came in that way, the 5-count stuff. If he goes back to that, what's really going to be different? His promos will be better, but he'll still be kind of just that heel. I just think he has more to offer, basically. I think he has more to offer as a babyface because he's fun. And so as long as he finds that balance, I think a babyface run can work. And like I said, there's no reason to turn him heel with the New Day out. If they were still together, then yeah, that might be the only way to kind of push him away from them, is to go heel. Not that they can't give him their blessing as babyfaces. We see that in AEW right now with SCU. Scorpio Sky kind of going off on his own, and Kaz and Daniels are going to be the tag team. So you could do that with Big E. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think it makes it easier that they're gone, that he can remain a babyface. And I'm not ruling out a heel turn. I think Big E could absolutely turn heel down the road. Absolutely. Maybe even this year. But at least at first, let him try being a babyface, because he has a chance. No, we're never going to see another Rock. That person will never exist again. But, he is a goofy motherfucker, man. And he has me laughing all the time. He's in our intro here. We love Big E on this channel. And babyface Big E puts smiles on Greg's faces. Or puts a smile on Greg's face. So I'm all for him staying that way. But I'm also open to anything. So down the road, if they give this babyface run a shot, it ain't working or people aren't feeling it, but they still want to give Big E a chance around the same time that Kofi and Xavier get healthy, because that might be fun. If they both get healthy, maybe around the same time, they come back together. There's a big New Day reunion in the middle of the ring, and then Big E attacks them both and beats the shit out of them and goes heel. I'd be into that. Sure, I'd be totally into that. But I think if you're ever going to do a Big E heel turn, it has to involve Kofi and Xavier. It'd be silly to do it now. You got to do it when he can attack them and shock the world, because the New Day's been together for so many years. And I think it would also be cool is if we all speculate and we all assume that one day we're going to get a New Day split, and then 10 years from now we still don't get it, and those guys go into the Hall of Fame without ever breaking up. That would be fun too. Next up, we had a Sasha and Bayley promo. This was going to be a Zoom call with Stephanie. Stephanie's got some information to give us on the women's titles situations at SummerSlam. She's got a couple of announcements to make here. So Bayley and Sasha have to stand perfectly in the ring so this camera can get the shot of both of them and Stephanie in the middle, which was kind of funny. And Stephanie announces, I like this idea, she announces a triple brand battle royal. I forget when this is even taking place. I don't even know. Maybe Monday, maybe next week. Can't remember. Anyway, it's going to be a 3-branded battle royal, 20 women from all 3 brands. The winner gets the title shot against Bayley. They'll challenge for the Smackdown title, so I guess that's going to happen probably next week on Smackdown. So that person gets a shot against Bayley at SummerSlam, and she also went on to say that Sasha will defend the Raw Women's title at SummerSlam as well, and that very well could be against Asuka, according to Stephanie McMahon. So it's kind of interesting what they've set up here, because she's speculating that Sasha is going to defend the title, but we don't know against who yet. Bayley has got to worry about a particular woman from any of the 3 brands winning. you could really be setting up some serious redemption for Asuka, because I had said, prior to that match with Sasha, I'm like, they're not going to take the belt off Asuka. You need the Asuka and Shayna Baszler match or something at SummerSlam. Then you're going to have Bayley and Sasha doing their thing or something. So I thought Asuka would keep the title here. I don't know where Shayna Baszler is going to fit into all this. I'm sure she will be in the Battle Royal. But they could set up something here to where, what if Asuka's in the Battle Royal? What if Asuka's in the Battle Royal and wins the Battle Royal? But she also still wants a shot against against Sasha for losing the Raw Women's title the way she did and having Bayley attack Kairi Sane. It would be like double revenge, because Asuka's got a score to settle not only with Sasha, but with Bayley. Bayley's the one that did the beating on Kairi. Sasha's just the one that took advantage of that and beat her. So I'm wondering if Asuka, after all this time in the WWE, is if they give her some weird match. Like if she wins that Battle Royal, and again, you're running the risk of combining all your titles into one situation here, which, there's going to be some critics of that. I get it. But what if like Asuka won the Battle Royal, earning the shot against Bayley, but then she also gets the shot against Sasha Banks? Do they do a situation where Asuka beats them both and wins all the belts? What if they do a handicap match with all the belts on the line? Sasha, Bayley, tag team match versus Asuka by herself, and it's a situation like we saw at that In Your House all those years ago where the IC, the World, and the tags were all on the line in the same match. And that means if Asuka wins, she wins both belts and she's the tag team champion. Tag team champion's by herself. And then she can just pick a partner. I don't know. I think it would be more fun if she just won the 2 world titles and let Sasha and Bayley continue to be tag champions. But maybe they could do that, or we're going to get separate opponents. So if it's not going to be Asuka coming in and taking all the belts, who do you think wins this tri-branded Battle Royal? It would be great if it was someone from NXT, but I don't see anybody over there really at the moment that would win it other than maybe someone like Rhea Ripley, but Rhea Ripley has just kicked off her feud with Mercedes Martinez. So I don't think Ripley's going to come into that Battle Royal and win it. And Dakota Kai has got her title shot coming up as well, winning her number 1 contenders match on NXT. So I don't know who it could be for Bayley unless they try to make this whole thing surrounding Sasha and Bayley and Asuka gets revenge for her friend. She gets revenge for herself. And Asuka at SummerSlam is wearing all the gold because Asuka is my favorite women's wrestler in WWE. She's great. Now, Sasha and Bayley are doing awesome work. They're hilarious. I love the both of them, but I am Team Asuka, always have been, and I would love it if she walked away with all the gold at SummerSlam. Just a thought. I have no idea what they're going to do. You guys can help me speculate on that. Let me cruise over here, making sure we're all good, and we're not running a third stream that I don't know about, right? Yeah, we good. Hello to everybody that's joining over here from the other stream, because for some reason I had 2 going at the same time. I didn't even think that was possible. We might be able to do something fun with that one day. If we did 2 streams at the same time. We'll see. We'll talk about that another time. All right, so that's the end of that Zoom call with Stephanie. We'll see what happens there starting next week. After that, we had Miz and Morrison against Heavy Machinery in a tag team match. This match was, I don't even know who won this. Again, I think it was another DQ. All 4 guys are brawling on the outside of the ring, and Sonya is there in the corner of Miz and Morrison, and that's when Mandy Rose shows up, attacks Sonya Deville from behind. Mandy's rocking the shorter hair now. She's got like a white tank top and jeans on, and she's beating the hell out of Sonya all over the place. And the brawl after commercial even spills into the backstage area. I think they come back from commercial, and they're still kind of fighting in the backstage area. And this is kind of like the final segment of the show, I think. There might not have been a commercial. I can't remember, but this brawling with Sonya and Mandy and Heavy Machinery and Miz and Morrison goes all the way into the backstage area when there's about 5 or 4 minutes left or something like that on the show. And as they're back there being pulled apart by the officials, the lights go out and they're kind of looking around like, what the hell? And that's when all of these masked Antifa-looking guys show up. They hop the barricade, and they're coming in with baseball bats, and Corey Graves and Michael Cole are freaking out. They get chased away, baseball bats being swung at the head of Corey Graves, and he runs away. You got about 5 or 6 people out there. 2 of them you could tell were women, and they get in the ring, and they start tearing up the ring, ripping up the ring apron. They got spray paint. They're spray painting the plexiglass. They're in the audience, beating up the audience members. And the problem with this is it was so bad because everybody out there looked like they were tiny. They looked like they were 5'5". looked like they were 15 years old. You could tell at least 2 of them were women. One of them was getting in the face of the camera saying, "This is our house now," or whatever. It was just hokey. And the production was awful. It was very much like Raw Underground, where they were just shaking the hell out of the camera, making you dizzy, making you want to throw up. It was just so much of that going on. So they tear everything up. The climax here was when one of them pulled out a chainsaw, which you had to just flat out laugh at, turns it on and starts cutting the ring ropes down. And I thought the Nexus did this 10 times better 10 years ago, which is right around now, right? Wasn't it about 10 years ago now, like pretty much to the day, that Nexus did something very, very similar, but did it way, way, way better. This was just a little strange. And again, the camera shaking stuff, and the people underneath the masks, who are these people? What this tells me and what this makes me worry about, and it's something that I've always complained about with WWE, is when they start an angle, they don't know what direction they're going in. When they start a whodunit type of thing. Like, the best example of this is when Stone Cold was run over by the car. WWE should have known a year ahead of time who they were going to pick. They were like, we'll deal with it next year when Austin comes back. So then when he came back, for some reason they decided it to be Rikishi, when The Rock would have made more sense, when Triple H would have made more sense, which is what they eventually wound up doing, making Triple H the mastermind behind it. But they didn't decide that until after the fact either. It's not like they knew all that going in. So anytime they don't know what the end result is going to be, it always fails. And the way this was presented makes me think that WWE still doesn't know who they want under these masks. They, maybe they're going to really drag this out for a few months and then wait and then potentially re-sign people that they've released and put them under the masks. I definitely think we need to have some surprises under there. A lot of people I saw were speculating that maybe that hacker angle hasn't been dropped after all. Maybe this is all part of the hacker stuff, which I would love, because that really frustrated me. The hacker vignettes and stuff that they were doing, I saw promise in. I'm like, oh, that's good. I want to see like where this goes, especially when you hear reports that maybe it could be Mustafa Ali or Xavier Woods. I'm like, oh, that would be so cool if it was one of those guys behind it or whatever. So if this winds up being tied into the hacker thing somehow, that would be a huge relief for me, because I thought it was silly that they dropped that to begin with. But aside from that, like, what is the point of these guys? They're just coming in and tearing down the ring. What are they mad about? The name of the faction WWE has revealed is called Retribution. So if they want retribution or revenge, what are they getting retribution or revenge for? That's why the released superstars thing makes so much sense. Or it could be guys and gals that haven't been given opportunities. Maybe it's some people that weren't pushed or anything like that. And based on the fact that so many of them, all of them, were so short, and all the fans were pointing that out online and criticizing him, what are you guys doing? Making a whole bunch of a cruiserweight faction or something like that? They might be doing that on purpose. They might be doing that to throw us off. They might reveal this faction to inevitably be a bunch of huge people. Damian Priest, Dominik Dijakovic. What about Tamina? I know that's a weird name to throw out there, but on the subject of angles that they've dropped, what happened to those vignettes where she was in like the padded room with the straitjacket? And I don't even remember what she said in those vignettes, but it looked like we were undergoing a character change for Tamina. 2 weeks later, she's back on TV in the same dumb segments, losing the same dumb matches. It's like they forgot they even did it. What was the point? So I would love to see Tamina be under the mask and be one of the people under the mask here, because everyone we've seen is short. So, it's like, I'm trying to think of another example where they've done this. I mean, the Black Scorpion, and what was the one that Moolah did back in the day when they screwed Wendy Richter out of the title, Spider Lady or whatever. Whenever there's like somebody under a mask and you're wondering who it is, I like it when they use different body types for someone. And if we see all these little people in the ring and then it turns out to be a bunch of huge people, I think that would be funny and interesting when the final reveal comes down. And it could be like WWE's way of saying, hey, we fooled you, and, or whatever the fuck. So we'll see in the end of it who it winds up being, but there's been some pretty good recommendations, or what's the word I'm trying to think of? Not recommendations, but speculation onto some of these names. And, guys like Mike Kanellis, Drake Maverick, anybody else that was let go that's not currently in Impact or AEW would be another good addition to this. And maybe you could have some NXT people as well. That's why I speculated somebody like Dominik Dijakovic, who's a giant guy, who is a big guy. If he turns out to be one of the people under these masks, he certainly wasn't one of the ones in the ring last night because they could all barely see over the top rope. So the fact that fans gave that so much shit makes me think that WWE did that by design to throw us off. They don't want to if they want to reveal this faction to be faces that we recognize, they don't want to try to give that away early. I mean, that one guy, you could see his eyes. I was trying to figure out who it was. He was screaming into the camera. Many of you probably recognized his voice. I couldn't tell. But I don't think WWE wants to make it that known who they are yet. And they're purposely putting people in there that are physically different than who it's actually going to be. A lot of fans said they recognized or they think that Vanessa Bourne and Chelsea Green were two of the people in the ring. And Vanessa Bourne I love, but this seems like a weird gimmick for her. And Chelsea Green I really love and think it's a really bad gimmick for her. I would not have Chelsea Green in this. It's just a weird thing for her to do. I think that, based on who she is and what she's done so far, I mean, she was doing that whole Robert Stone stuff, and then I guess she was called up, and we really haven't seen her since. So what is she trying to get retribution for? Her boyfriend? Matt Cardona? I don't know. I think Chelsea Green would be a silly person to put in this faction. I don't know what she's after, what she has, why she has reason to be upset. She wasn't even signed that long ago. She's in NXT. She was put on TV pretty quickly. She even got brought up to the main roster. Why is she pissed? And Vanessa Bourne is Vanessa. We see her on NXT sometimes. Oh, you know what? I'm thinking Vanessa Bourne will be fine. I'm confusing Vanessa Bourne. I apologize. I'm confusing Vanessa Bourne with Santana Garrett. Santana Garrett is the one I was thinking of in my head. She would be another bad person to use in this. But Vanessa Bourne, maybe. Okay, Vanessa might be cool, but Chelsea Green, no. I don't think that she really belongs in this angle, and I hope she doesn't turn out to be. I'd like to see Chad Gable in it. I wouldn't be surprised if Chad Gable was at least one of the people under the hood, even if he's not meant to be in the faction. I bet you he was one of the people out there last night. After, of course, he got the ass whipping from Sheamus and Matt Riddle. But whoever was under the masks, I seriously doubt that that's who it's actually going to be. I think it's all done to throw us off. But the segment was bad. It was just kind of a little bit silly. I liked it much more on Monday night. Monday, I was optimistic. Now, not so much. I don't know. We're going to see more tomorrow, this Monday on Raw, I'm sure. But in terms of last night, it was just really kind of cheesy. Tough to watch, didn't like it. And again, the just dizzying camera shaking, I don't understand why they go so overboard with that. It was just so dumb, Anyway, kind of a letdown there, I got to say. I mean, the Retribution is going to be fun because we get to speculate who it's going to be. But in terms of how it was executed, I thought it was really bad last night. So I have all of a sudden now stopped caring about Retribution, but I'll be happy to take and listen to all of your ideas for who they could be. And and a lot of people were also mentioning the Dark Order, and we all used to poke fun at the Dark Order when they first started. I'll tell you this right now, I like Dark Order a hell of a lot more than Retribution so far. I hated Dark Order at first. I'm still not totally sold on them or Brody Lee now, but I like them a hell of a lot better than I did at first. They've grown on me a little bit to where I think they can do meaningful things. So maybe Retribution can do the same thing, but if this is like WWE's answer to the Dark Order is better. And, what if Retribution turns out to be a whole bunch of kind of like the Dark Order, to where we might know a couple of their names, but everybody's just number 1 or 5, and they're all under a mask, and then you have like one figurehead or one mouthpiece or one leader of the faction. I don't know if I want to see that. I'd like to see this, as a way to try to get as many people over as possible. And, we'll see. I'm not optimistic, though, but I think Drake Maverick, Ali, Chad Gable, guys like that being involved, and people who weren't pushed properly or maybe had start and stops or anything like that. Because you could definitely make a case for Chad Gable with the Shorty G shit. You could make a case for Ali, who many people feel lost out on a title shot back when Kofi won it a year and a half ago, and has never really been able to get back on a roll since then. If he's come back several different times, he's gotten himself in great shape. He's worked his ass off, and WWE does zero with him. So he has an axe to grind, just like Gable. And you could argue that just like Drake Maverick does too, because he was released and literally had to fight to the death to get a contract and get back in the company. So there are people that this would all work for, but this whole segment last night I thought was horrendous. Anyway, I've been yapping a lot. Let's really hope here that I can get through NXT and AEW in the next 30 minutes because I got to get out of here. Let's start with this past week's Wednesday Night Wars and start with NXT because I thought this was a great night of TV, especially AEW. But NXT had a lot of great stuff going on here too. I think NXT had the better wrestling, like in-ring wrestling, which they often do against AEW. That's not a rare occasion. There's plenty of weeks where I think NXT has far better bell-to-bell wrestling, but AEW consistently to me just gives me the more fun, overall, entertaining, variety type of wrestling show. And this week was no different. But NXT was solid. I want to open up with that. We started off with that number one contenders match, Dakota Kai taking on Rhea Ripley. I mentioned that a minute ago. Dakota Kai got the win here when Mercedes Martinez attacks Rhea Ripley, allowing Dakota to capitalize and get the win. Rhea kind of had like a busted nose at the end, and after the match, Mercedes gets in there and hits her like her finisher on Rhea, and she's bleeding and all of that. So that's going to be I guess it's revenge for Great American Bash, and now that Mercedes is with Robert Stone, they're going to be targeting Rhea Ripley, and that should be a fun little program between Martinez and Ripley. That's good stuff. I don't know what, Ripley giving her something to do other than the title I think is fine, but man, things have changed for her a lot in the last like 7 or 8 months. Still not sure if I'm used to the blonde hair yet, but I'm still a huge Rhea Ripley fan. And now with their program with Mercedes, that's going to be good, but I'm not sure who's going to come out on top of that. It might be Mercedes, and Rhea might just head to the main roster now. I don't know what they're going to do with her, but Dakota is going to be the next challenger for Io Shirai, and I like that match. I don't think Dakota is going to win the title yet. I'd keep rolling with Io, but I like Dakota, and I think she should have won. I predicted her to win that the match that Tegan won a few weeks back. I thought it would be Dakota. So the fact that she's here now, I kind of saw coming. We had Bronson Reed. He qualified for the ladder match a couple of weeks ago. He defeated Shane Thorne. Not much to mention there. Legado del Fantasma kidnapped Breezango and then drug their lifeless bodies out to the ring and beat the hell out of them. And Santos Escobar used that as a way to issue a warning to Isaiah Swerve Scott. I think that's going to be our next Cruiserweight title feud. So that was kind of interesting. A lot of factions doing a lot of damage in this company right now. We had that triple threat qualifier for the ladder match at TakeOver up next. Damian Priest taking on Oney Lorcan and Ridge Holland. And it was, in fact, Damian Priest getting the win here, as most of us predicted. And man, were people impressed with Ridge Holland. I had only seen a couple of shots of him in NXT UK, some highlights, not even a full match, and didn't realize how just physically impressive he really is. He's very Brock-like. Brock is still much bigger. Holland's got that, that toughness to him. He's a rugby player, just real big, thick legs and just real tough and big and strong and freakishly strong, but just not quite as big as Brock Lesnar. But the way he moved, the way he sold, the way he picked guys up and just threw them around was extremely Brock Lesnar-like. And he's even more impressive than I thought he was going to be. A lot of people had great things to say. They told me last week, oh, good mic work. Wait till you see Ridge Holland. He's fucking great. And I'm like, okay, great. Can't wait to see him. And he impressed the hell out of me in this. I cannot wait to see more of him. I don't know, though. Is he like, he's here. So is he on loan from NXT UK? Will he be going back over there once he can? Or is he going to be in NXT, permanently? I'd like to keep him here because he's freaking awesome, man. And he can have some great matches in NXT, with a lot of the other badasses that are already there, like Timothy Thatcher and others. I think that would be great stuff for him. So I'm really interested just to see how he progresses and how he continues to grow in NXT, because I really loved him in this match. But in the end, Damian Priest hit with the Reckoning on Oney Lorcan, so he took the pin, and that leaves us with the 3 qualifiers so far: Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, and Dexter Lumis, who qualified, I believe, last week. But unfortunately, Dexter Lumis is out. Later on in the show, William Regal, he comes on the screen. I can't remember if this is on the Tron or if this was just a video chat or something like that. But William Regal announces some pretty confusing changes to the ladder match. Try to see if I can make sense of this here. So you've got, I think, 2 more spots to fill. First announcement he makes, unfortunately, our friend Dexter Lumis, who we fucking love and always root for and is great, is out of the triple threat match. I believe he suffered a foot or an ankle injury or something, so he's not cleared, so he's out. He loses his chance in that ladder match. So What they're going to do next week is do another triple threat match. Next week, the winner of that will take Dexter Lumis's place. So that'll be settled next week. The final 2 spots, so there's going to be 5 men total in the ladder match. The final 2 spots will be determined, I believe, in 2 weeks with 2 different singles matches involving the 4 men that weren't pinned or submitted in their respective triple threat matches. And I speculated on this. The guy that I picked to win the North American title the entire time, before any qualifiers were even announced, I picked Johnny Gargano. And he lost the triple threat match like in the first week. He lost the triple threat qualifier. Somebody asked me on Twitter, hey, who's your pick now that Gargano is out? And I said, Gargano is my pick because he is just the type of heel that will find a way to sneak his way back into the match. So he's one of the guys that did not get pinned in his triple threat. So was Finn Balor. So was Ridge Holland. And then next week, the match that replaces Dexter Lumis, whoever that guy is that doesn't take the finish, he'll be added to this as well. So in 2 weeks, we're going to get 2 singles matches, and then the winner of those 2 singles matches will both qualify and be the final 2, making up the field of 5 in the ladder match. Does any of that make sense to you? It was hard for even me to make sense of that nonsense. But anyway, I like that because it puts Balor back in, puts Gargano back in, and we'll see what the matches turn out to be. We don't even know. I don't even know who's in the triple threat match next week to replace Dexter Lumis. So if we're going to get 2 singles matches, we've got Balor, Holland, and Gargano so far. Would you want to do Balor and Gargano one-on-one? Or would you put like Gargano with maybe Holland and Balor with whoever wins or next week or whatever? So I think Gargano is going to find a way to get in there. I think it's going to be really interesting if Gargano winds up winning this title. And I called it out all that long ago. Even after he lost, I stuck with it. I'm like, he's going to find a way back in because he's a sneaky little heel, man. And that's what sneaky little heels do. So after this, prior to this, because I wanted to talk about the ladder match. Prior to that announcement by Regal, we had Keith Lee taking on Cameron Grimes. This was the non-title match that was set up last week. Keith Lee is pissed at Karrion Kross. Grimes was dumb enough to come out there and get in Keith Lee's face. Now he's got to face him in the ring. And I got to tell you, this was not bad. I thought Keith Lee was going to murder Grimes in 5 seconds. Grimes had some offense. Pushed Keith Lee a little bit. I like that. Gave him a run for his money. Had a really good outing. But in the end, of course, Keith Lee annihilates him and is able to defeat Cameron Grimes. After that, Karrion shows up on the screen. First, you hear like a woman's voice over the loudspeakers. Lights go out. Karrion is on the screen, and he's like, it's like black and white, and he's laid out a bunch of guys. I could tell that one of them was Danny Burch, and then 2 were like laying in the background. So he warned Keith Lee last week that if you don't give me that title match at TakeOver, that I'm going to start hurting people. And we speculated that eventually he's going to find himself in Mia Yim's locker room, and that's going to push Lee over the edge. So what I think is going to happen is next week, something like that's going to happen. Lee's going to do a promo, and then you're going to have Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Maybe they've got Mia Yim pinned down or tied to a chair or something. Lee's going to lose his shit, and he's going to give Karrion Kross the match. That's what I imagine is going to happen. But all in all, pretty good match, and I like Karrion Kross, and I like what he did. You know, he's standing there over those 3 bodies like tick-tock, tick-tock. Kross is a badass. I love him. I cannot wait to see this match because I want both guys to win, but both guys can't win. So I got to make a compromise. Who do you guys want to win? So next up, we had Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee joined the commentary team. Now, earlier on in the day, they were showing sharing photos online on social media of Pat McAfee and Adam Cole making up. They buried the hatchet. They smoothed things over earlier on in the day at the Performance Center. So all is right with the world. So Pat McAfee joins the commentary team to call a couple of matches, and while he's doing that, he continues to trash and take little shots at Adam Cole. So he's on commentary, I believe, for the Tegan Knox and Indy Hartwell match. Tegan beat her pretty quick order. And then the main event was the tag team title match, Imperium against the newly reunited Undisputed Era, because O'Reilly's been out for so long. So you got Bobby Fish and O'Reilly taking on Imperium. The whole time on commentary, Pat is talking shit. Adam Cole comes out to confront him at the commentary booth. The match is going on at the same time. Triple H is out there. Shawn Michaels is out there trying to cool everything off. Imperium winds up winning the match in the ring, but the story here is what's taking place on the outside of the ring. After the match is over, you still got the 2 jawing at each other, And Pat McAfee tells Cole that, he's just going to be he'll forever be a short little bitch. It's just constant short jokes. It's like the only thing that Pat McAfee has is short jokes, and he just harps on it and harps on it. So he says that Cole's going to, live the rest of his life of being a short little bitch, and Cole goes to dive over the announce table onto Pat McAfee, who then, as Cole's head is hanging over the edge, gives him a punt right to the head. And Cole sold it like $1,000,000, just crumpled right down face first onto the mat. Triple H, got to give him credit with 2 huge pushes on McAfee. I mean, he pushed him back about 10 feet and then pushed him again. Like, get the fuck out of here. And McAfee's doing the whole heel thing, and he's very good at it. He's a very unlikable person. And a lot of people don't like this feud. They don't have any interest in it. I really personally don't either. But the 2 bright spots here is, number 1, Adam Cole sold all that marvelously. And number 2, Pat McAfee does a good job of being a heel, because you do kind of want to slap the shit out of him. So I'm surprised that right after this long title run, that at TakeOver, this match is official, by the way, at TakeOver, it will be Adam Cole against Pat McAfee. That's weird, but it might be fun to watch Pat McAfee get his ass kicked by a short little bitch, as he calls him. So, and it's going to be our first time really seeing him in the ring. Does anybody know if he's any good? I don't. He might be. I mean, he's there. He's probably been working out and training, and maybe him and Cole are friends and, in real life, and Cole wants to give him a nice rub or a nice match or something. I don't know where this is going to lead, or if maybe McAfee is going to bring in maybe McAfee starts a faction with like Mojo Rawley and some other football players or something. I don't know. It'd be cool if Gronk was still there. So the whole punting thing I thought was good, and I thought the whole segment was good to close out NXT, even though I think most people agree that they're not into this angle, and I'm really not either. But I did think the punt spot was good. I did. Thought it was good. Just Adam Cole did a great job of selling that, and it made me I was mad. I was mad at Pat McAfee. I want to see him now get his ass kicked. I thought that was a bitch move. I thought that was a pussy move to kick a guy when he's completely helpless like that. And now I want to see Pat McAfee get what's coming to him, because he's dealing with Adam Cole. Adam Cole might be small, but Adam Cole is good. So watch out, Pat. Baby. All right, and that was the end of NXT. By the way, the viewership for NXT on Wednesday was 753,000 viewers. That's very good. And AEW blasted them pretty hard with 901,000 viewers, one of their highest ratings in several months. Nearly 150K more than NXT. Both shows drew very good ratings. And now we're into that Raw and SmackDown category. You combine these 2 shows, that equals a Raw or SmackDown rating, give or take, does it not? So we're up there now. On Wednesday nights, man, this is the night to watch wrestling. I should start taking Wednesdays off again, man. Good stuff. But anyway, let's get into AEW here. Hopefully I can wrap this up in 15 or 20 minutes, because I got to bounce. But man, was this a good show, man. This was so fun. And it's why I think AEW really overall offers just a much better variety of a wrestling show than NXT, because you just don't see some of this wackiness there. If you want good in-ring, bell-to-bell wrestling, NXT is for you. I love what they do, but man, this is just crazy shit. So anyway, the show opens up with a 12-man tag, and I think they opened with the 10-man tag last week, and it was really bad, clunky, botchy, clusterfucky, didn't come off well. This one was much better. This was FTR and the Elite taking on the Dark Order and Colt Cabana. Now early in the match, I believe it's Dax Hardwood who hurts his foot or something. He gets injured and he has to leave. So FTR's out of the match, and Hangman Page goes with him. And I wonder, based on last week, the match was so kind of all over the place and confusing because you have so many bodies out there. I'm almost wondering if they purposely removed a couple of bodies here just so the match would flow a little bit better. So Adam Cole leaves with FTR, but he does wind up coming back, and he gets involved in a really wild and fun finish with Brody Lee. He first takes a bunch of super kicks, takes a super kick party into a Snapdragon suplex, and they go for the buckshot lariat on Brody Lee, who's in the ring all alone kind of there, and the Bucks are in there as well. And Omega is behind Brody, and Page is getting ready to come off the rope for the buckshot. And then 3 Dark Order guys pull out the Bucks and Omega, leaving Page in the ring all by himself, who comes off the ropes, and Brody Lee nails him with that discus. Is it discus forearm or discus lariat? Whatever it is, turns Adam Cole inside out and pins him. So I like that Dark Order won there. That's a big win for them, beating the Elite, beating FTR technically. So I thought that whole match was pulled off a lot better than the 10-man tag. I thought it was fun. I thought it was more organized, and I liked the finish. And I liked that the heels won. So good for them. And it's still furthers the story as well of like the little bromance between Adam Page and FTR, which I love. And Adam Page is slowly becoming, just one of the more likable and over baby faces in all of wrestling, even though he's got so much tension with the Elite. And I've mentioned this for the past 3 weeks. I really like how they changed it on us. We all just assumed right from the start that Page is being a dick. He doesn't want to celebrate with him. He walks away all the time. He's all distant from the Elite. Even in the Being the Elite YouTube shows, he's acting weird. Oh, of course, the writing's on the wall. We can see this coming. He's going to turn heel, right? Now I think it's going to go the other way around, and I think it might be Omega that goes heel when this thing finally does implode. But we'll see. We had more fun up next. My God, Santana and Ortiz taking on the Best Friends. The Best Friends earlier on in the day showed up again in Trent's mom's van, his mom, Sue. So they show up in Sue's white minivan, and they have the match. Trent winds up rolling up Ortiz for the win. This pisses off Santana and Ortiz, and I kind of like that that they got a little bit mad here because, LAX, they were kind of a big deal. They just felt like a little bit bigger deal prior to coming to AEW. They feel a little bit more silly here. They don't feel like the same type of badasses, or maybe same guys you take seriously that they did previously. And they've been stringing up a lot of losses here. And this one seems to have really made them snap. And they get pissed, and they go after the match. They go out and completely destroy Sue's van. They've got sledgehammers. They're bashing all the windows out, baseball bats. They're spray painting the van, writing Sue's name on it, Xing it out, and just completely ripping it apart. There's even some cameras set up inside the van, so you see all the, the destruction from inside the van. So they fuck up poor Sue's van. Best Friends later on find this out. They have a promo outside of the van. This is the best part, this little touch that I loved. The van is on bricks. So the tires are gone. The van is just sitting there on bricks. Trent and Chuck are just mortified at this. Chuck is pissed. Chuck's mad because he feels like a liar. He promised Sue that nothing would happen to her van. He promised Trent's mom that he would look after the van and make sure that nothing happened to it. And now he's got to go back here and show her what happened. And he's untrustworthy now, and he's a liar, and he's upset. And Trent says, look, man, if you guys wanted a rematch with us, all you had to do was ask. You didn't have to destroy my mom's van. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to get your rematch. And when we beat you, you're going to apologize to my mother on speakerphone. That's why I love Dynamite, because of shit like this. This is what wrestling's all about. It's just weird. You got this fucking van up on bricks. You got two guys mad. You're going to apologize to my mom on speakerphone. I don't find that to be silly or hokey or mud showy. I find that to be fucking hilarious and entertaining. And it's what wrestling is about. And I loved it, and hilarious stuff. Great stuff. The only one little nitpick I have in this is even the wrestlers knew that this shit was silly, because Chuck Taylor, who's already kind of a comedian as it is, he always posts little funny things on social media. When he's cutting that promo, saying that he feels like a liar, you can see it in his face. He doesn't believe what he says. He should have really been mad and made us think that he's really pissed about this van, but instead it's almost like his facial expression was acknowledging the fact that it was a joke. So maybe I didn't like that so much. I think it's funnier when they are really, really mad over something so silly. Not that this is silly. I mean, you mess up somebody's car, that's a big deal. But we've definitely seen wrestling angles and feuds started over worse than this. Some people were like criticizing this. What? All over a van? I'm like, if somebody did that to my mom's van, we'd be feuding for 9 months, culminating in an Inferno match. I would set you on fire for doing that if you did that to my mom's car. So I think it's a very good reason to have a wrestling angle or a feud over. But, the silliness of it is part of its appeal to me. What's wrong? Why is there no fun in wrestling? All the fans they're just no fun. And I found this to be fun. And I think all the critics of it are just miserable people who don't have any fun in their lives. I thought it was great. More great stuff followed after that with MJF, campaign headquarters. He had the big State of Wrestling address last week. A lot of political stuff going on here with his campaign headquarters and the Jericho Cassidy debate that we would see later on. In the headquarters there, they've got the graphs or the poll numbers up on the screen, and he's winning. He's beating Jon Moxley 100% to negative 88%. So MJF is the projected winner there, I suppose. He's asked about the Darby Allin and Moxley match later on. Well, hey, what if Darby Allin beats Moxley? Then he's the champion. And MJF is like, good. I'd love to face him in a match. I'd rather take on 150-pound Darby Allin than Big John Moxley, who could fucking kill me. So he did not seem to mind that at all. After that was another crazy segment. We had Matt Hardy in the ring. He's continuing his feud with Sammy Guevara. And he basically calls out Sammy here and goes on to say that he's going to be like regular Matt again. He wasn't broken Matt. He wasn't Damascus. He was none of that. He was regular Matt Hardy. Even alluded to the fact that that's who he's going to be moving forward. And talked about Sammy Guevara and how his feud with him is progressing. Sammy is like, I guess he's underneath the ring, or he sneaks in from the crowd, and he tries to sneak up on Matt Hardy, but Matt Hardy sees him coming. And he's like, Sammy, I knew you'd come, and they start brawling. The brawl spills on the outside of the ring, and Sammy Guevara picks up a chair. He's got like Matt laying on a table first. He's got him positioned on a table. Matt like sits up or something like that. He takes a chair and he throws it full speed right at Matt Hardy's face, and it blasts him right in the forehead. And he immediately is just busted open, bleeding buckets all over the table. A lot of fans weren't sure at the time if it was hard way or not. Certainly looked it. Now it's come out that Guevara actually botched this. He fucked up bad. He grabbed the wrong chair. There's even a little bit of heat on him, apparently, for what he did here, for being so reckless. He picked up the wrong chair. They had a chair positioned for him to throw, picked up the wrong one, and launched it at Matt Hardy. And if you go back and watch that replay and you watch it slow, it's hard to catch. I'm not even sure if I'm seeing it right, so you guys can verify this for me. But it looked like when he picked up the chair, like on the back part of the chair right here, there's like a divot or like a chunk taken out. I could just see it for like a split second on the screen. So if he took a metal chair that had a chunk taken out of the top, imagine how sharp that is. And he launched that thing right at Hardy's head, immediately hits him right in the forehead, and just opens up a gaff, right? And is just bleeding everywhere. And then Sammy still goes on to do his like 360 dive thing off the ramp onto the table, killing poor Matt. So Matt took a hard shot to the head. Apparently Sammy Guevara screwed up here. And yikes, that was a lot of blood that I don't think was meant to happen. So hopefully Matt is okay. Hopefully Sammy, he's just off a suspension, so I want to see this guy get in any more trouble, because we really like Sammy here on the channel. But Sammy, brother, be more careful, man. Come on. After that, we had Cody teaming up with his buddy Matt Cardona, who debuted next week. They defeated the Dark Order in a tag team match. Not much to say there. Zack Ryder looked good. He's in great shape. He's got a 5-appearance deal. We'll see how long, if that extends at all beyond that in AEW. But it's certainly good to see him there now and to see him out there getting some work. After the match, Scorpio Sky kind of confronts Cody Rhodes in the tunnel and says, I want a shot at the AEW title next week. So that's going to be the TNT title next week. So that's going to be our match. Cody has defended that title every week except for this past one since he was in the tag. So the TNT Championship will be on the line next week, Cody Rhodes versus Scorpio Sky. I would love to see Scorpio Sky win. I almost think that it's like a bit too early. I also think there's a lot going on with Cody. He seems like he's got some slow-burning attitude change here. He seems a little bit more cocky, a little bit more open to maybe bending the rules. Even Arn Anderson is kind of funny about him right now or whatever. So I think Scorpio Sky, since they've kind of made it known, much like they've made it known with Big E and WWE, that he wants to go off on his own and achieve single success, that he's got a shot to win this title. But I almost think it's like too early. I think what would be cool here is if Cody maybe doesn't do a full-blown heel turn, but maybe does something in the match to cheat and win, and then go on to successfully defend the title for a couple of more months, and then have to face Scorpio Sky again and drop it to him. A lot of people want to see Darby Allin or maybe even MJF or somebody like that take the belt off of Cody. I'm fine with that, whatever. But I love Scorpio Sky. We root for him so hard and would love to see him be the guy to do it. I just don't think next week is going to be it. So, and I don't want to see Scorpio just take the loss. He's been very prominent on AEW Dark, and he's been making his intentions known there. And I'd hate to see him just get in the ring and just take a crossroads and a loss here. I think he should do a little bit better, which is why I think Cody needs to put his foot on the rope or use a foreign object or a handful of tights or something like that to get kind of a quick, cheap win to where he has to run into Scorpio Sky somewhere down the line in the future. That's what I would do next week. But hey, if they pull a fast one and just put the belt on Scorpio Sky, I'm perfectly fine with that. But I cannot imagine them taking that belt off Cody prior to the belt being finished. I still think Cody is going to hold the finished product of that belt for a little while before he drops it. That's just my opinion. Next up, we had the great debate. Oh, this was great. My God. Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy, they advertised this last week. There was going to be a special guest moderator for this that was speculated on all week, and many people felt, because word was kind of out, that it would be Eric Bischoff, and it was Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff back on TNT for the first time in 19 years, 21 years, something like that. 20 years, I think it was. Maybe 2000, late 2000 is when the last time he was around. No, he was still there probably in 2001. I think a couple of weeks before they sold to WWE, he did like a video call or something. So yeah, about 19 years now is how long it's been since he's been on TNT. So that's kind of cool. He didn't have a huge role here. He was just the moderator. He didn't come out to cut a big promo or take any cheap shots in WWE. Looks like it was a one-off where he's not going to be back, at least, in a recurring role on AEW. He could be back one day, but this was just kind of like a special appearance for him, which I liked. And he was just the one that had to ask the questions. Jericho is out there. Cassidy is out there in his all denim. Bischoff kicks things off by saying, ask these guys why they hate each other so much. And Jericho says, because Cassidy's a piece of shit. Look at the way he's dressed and all that denim. I'm wearing a $10,000 suit. I look like $1 million. And you're out here not taking this thing seriously because you're a loser and you're a slacker. So Cassidy pulls out a little black clip-on tie and just clips it onto his t-shirt. I love that. Jericho continues to rip apart Cassidy on the mic. Calling him nothing, calling him useless and worthless and all of that. The whole time Cassidy is just no-selling him, just saying nothing. He's just sitting there like he does not give a shit. And then Bischoff goes on to ask a question about rising sea levels. And Jericho's like, what does that have to do with anything? Rising sea levels? That's a bullshit question. And then Cassidy just busts out this brilliant answer. It talks statistics and how high the oceans are rising and how the percentage of the population of the world live in these coastal environments, and just has a really well thought out and worded response, which popped the announcers, it popped the crowd, it popped me. And it was a very, very true assessment. Like he was dead on in all of his in all of the statistics that they had written out for him. I mean, there's a lot of people listening to this podcast right here. By the time you die, there will not be a Miami. That's like a real thing. We're going to lose cities and we're going to lose a lot of coastal areas, just with the rising sea levels and everything. And for such a random question and for Cassidy to answer it and nail it like that was great. Jericho then gets pissed. He's like, what the hell or whatever. He pulls out the orange jacket, which tends to get more and more orange every week. And he said that Cassidy's orange juice is demonic because it keeps changing colors. And he says that this is probably my favorite line of the whole thing. Jericho says that when he's done with Cassidy, that Cassidy will have to go back to his job at Jamba Juice. And when Jericho comes in there to order his blueberry smoothie with extra protein and pumpkin seeds, he's not going to tip Orange Cassidy, which I fucking love that. And then Eric Bischoff goes on to ask them, why does the rematch mean so much to them? And Jericho is about to start flapping his gums again, and that's when Cassidy finally interrupts him. He goes, Jericho, you're done. Shut up. And goes on to cut like an awesome promo. He says, not only is it the biggest match of my life, but it's also the biggest match of your life, Chris Jericho, because what's going to happen? What's going to happen if you lose to the guy with his hands in his pockets? And he says that I've been waiting for this, opportunity my whole life. You don't intimidate me. You're out here trying to embarrass me. I'm not embarrassed. I don't care. You're going to find out what I can do, and you're going to find out what I'm made of, and really cut the first real promo on AEW that we've ever seen from him, and he cut it well. I've always had Orange Cassidy's back because he's athletic as hell, and he is a good wrestler, and Jericho clearly likes him. Obviously, right? Jericho's working with him on such a high level like this, the big, great debate, all of the stuff that he's done with him on TV, already having a match with him on TV. And I predicted 2 weeks ago that Cassidy's going to win this match next week. I think he is. And after that, we saw, after Cassidy cuts his little promo, you even see Jericho and Bischoff get into it for a split second, which I love because they've got some history there. And Jericho said something like, I've never liked you. I knew I hated you it's been 22 years and I've never liked you. And Bischoff corrects him and says, it's been 24, asshole, and I don't like you either, kind of thing. And so after they kind of exchange words, Jake Hager then attacks, who's with Jericho. Jake Hager attacks Orange Cassidy. He beats him down in the corner. He throws Orange Cassidy right into a Judas effect. Cassidy goes down, and Jericho and Hager stand tall over him. And to me, that just screams that Jericho's putting this kid over next week because he already beat him a couple of weeks ago. Now you're going to have the debate, and they're going to embarrass the kid and kick his ass, and then next week you're going to beat him too? I don't think so. I think Orange Cassidy is going to get a huge television win next week, and I can't wait to see it. Jericho's a great guy. Jericho knows talent. Jericho is not fucking stupid. And all these fans that criticize Orange Cassidy, All these fans that sit on their ass with Oreo cookies under their fingernails who have never even ran a mile, much less done anything athletic, are going to tell Hall of Famers like Chris Jericho that Orange Cassidy shouldn't be in the ring, that he's a goof, that he's damaging to the wrestling business. Bullshit. Cassidy's great. And he's going to beat Chris Jericho next week on Dynamite. That's my prediction. After that, we had Big Swole beating Reba, and that actually earns her a shot against Britt Baker, which will probably come at All Out. And that was all the women's wrestling we had on the show. One match, 3 minutes. That's it. I can understand why fans are pissed about that $50 paywall. Just saying. Just saying. That leaves us with the main event. Jon Moxley defending the AEW title against Darby Allin. This match was great. Mox loves Darby. Earlier on in the show, he cuts a promo on the stairs talking about the similarities between the two, how he was also a reckless kid that didn't listen to people that were older than him giving him advice, and he would go on and do crazy and reckless things anyway, and he sees a lot of himself in Darby, and we know that about Moxley. Remember that Stone Cold podcast he did a few years ago when he was WWE champion as Dean Ambrose? He was really uncooperative in that, and he seemed really apprehensive and hesitant to discuss anything about his childhood. And I think Dean Ambrose did some crazy shit when he was a kid that he doesn't want to talk about. But now, as Moxley, he kind of sees a lot of himself in Darby, and he doesn't want to see Darby do anything too crazy and get hurt, and he doesn't want to be responsible for that. Really good promo. Then they have a match, and it's a really good match. The match is phenomenal. We've seen him wrestle before, a lot of the same stuff. Darby is just super reckless and crazy, and Mox is trying to contend with that. We know he's got an upcoming feud coming up with MJF. MJF interferes. He hits the ring. He hits Jon Moxley in the head with the AEW title, busting him open. I don't even think Darby saw this happen. He jumps and hits a coffin drop on top of Moxley, but Moxley kicks out. And finally, after Moxley, I think he fends off a couple of more attacks, maybe even another coffin drop, hooks him in a front face lock, and then almost does like he's like conflicted. Like he sees Darby there, he knows he's got him beat, and he reluctantly grabs him, hooks the paradigm shift, pins him 1, 2, 3, and retains the title. And the show goes off the air with Moxley kind of holding or cradling Darby like a baby, like good fight kid. I thought it was a great visual to close out the show and kind of fade to black. Moxley bleeding, holding Darby Allin, and that show of respect. I almost like that more than just the shake of the hands that Cody does in every single one of his babyface matches. This was a little different because it was a brutal match, blood involved. Both guys let it all hang out. Even though they respect each other, they still tried to kill each other at the same time, and I love that. And I like the friendship between Moxley and Darby, and I hope it remains that way. I hope this is it now. They don't need to wrestle again. Darby's got 2 shots. He's gone down both times, move on, and Moxley and him can kind of be bros. I would like to see that. So all in all, that was a fantastic episode of AEW, and I'm giving Dynamite the nod again this week. Probably I think for the 3rd or 4th week in a row now. NXT, I enjoyed Great American Bash better than Fyter Fest, but AEW has really been on a roll in the past few weeks, and I really thought this was a good Dynamite this week. Great stuff. That debate was good. MJF was hilarious. Sue's van getting destroyed. The 12-man tag being much better than I expected. Excellent title match main event with Darby and Moxley. You can't beat that, man. Just good stuff all around. Excellent job at AEW. Excellent Dynamite. I fucking love Wednesdays. And I am going to get fired from my job if I don't get out of here because I am late. Let me knock out a couple of super chats real quick, and then I got to bounce. I got to bounce bad because the double stream thing threw us off time-wise. And if I did miss anything, let me say this right now. If I missed anybody's super chat when I get home from work tonight, I'm going to look at all of them. I'm going to send you a personal message if I see one that I did not answer here. So I appreciate everybody hanging out today. I'm trying to find this one from Devlin. There you are. Thanks, brother, for the $5. I expect more Orange Cassidy cosplays on the Jericho Cruise next year, maybe more than we got this year. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's already a ton of Orange Cassidys on that cruise last year with, even with Solomonster fooling people thinking he was actually him. And we see so many Orange Cassidys at wrestling shows. I think it's really cute when little kids dress up as Orange Cassidy. I even saw a little 8-year-old girl on Twitter or something. Her parents dressed her up as Orange Cassidy and she cut a little promo, hands in her pockets. Fucking great shit. So it's a great costume to be if you're a wrestling fan. So anyway, I am sorry to have to cut this ending short. Normally I hang around and I answer some questions and everything like that, but I've got to get out of here. I apologize. We will pick up all of this discussion Monday night, immediately following Raw. Make sure you join us after Raw. We'll talk about Raw Underground and whatever's going on there. And hopefully we'll have a fun week of wrestling coming up starting on Monday. So thank you for being here. Make sure you subscribe. Smash that thumbs up before you get out of here. And if you are interested in listening to the audio of this, I will have it posted on the website and the podcast sites later on tonight, probably in about 7 hours from now. So thanks again, guys. You all be good. I'll talk to you soon. Oh, wait, hold on. I want to say hi to Crash. $2, dude. Appreciate it. Jericho in a suit reminded me of 2010 Chris Jericho. I thought the same thing. He did kind of, didn't he? And DM23, I want to answer your $5 as well. I'm sorry for that, for missing it. Do you think that Drew McIntyre will kick out of that punt kick? And do you think he'll drop the title to Orton? Maybe. Join me Monday night. Don't pay me a super chat. Just remind me about that question. We'll talk about it on Monday. You guys take care. Have a great night and have a great rest of your weekend. See you soon. Peace.